All right, eyes open news time, 25 minutes past the hour, 6 o'clock, top of the morning, It's Wet Tuesday. Speaking of wet, Q's going to have your forecast coming up for you shortly. Good morning, Q. How are you doing this morning? You doing okay?
Good morning, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Top of the morning to you. We have an exciting show lined up for you this morning. We plan on having Arthur Sickerson read. We may very well have a city council update this in the wake of the judge on yesterday, telling both sides, the city of Alexandria and the city council, to work together to hammer this thing out. Basically passing the ball back to them instead of giving some sort of affirmative decision. The city, if the administration is correct, the city council is correct. But certainly the mayor's press release, his narrative is that they won, which I didn't see that in what the judge, Patricia Cook, had said. So basically, she said, look, y'all need to work this out. We need to have a balanced budget by such and such day, by 30 days to get it together. Put your personality differences aside and get this done. That's basically what was her order. She didn't say that I found fault with the city council, I found fault with the city administration. Bottom line, she finds fault with both of them for not getting the job done. The people's business. Time of morning to you. We will touch base with the National Weather Service and find out the very latest on the weather forecast, which we told you yesterday. We're looking at rain all week long, maybe clearing up, maybe sometime by Friday. We'll revisit with Dr. David Holcomb as we have the vaccination and shots a million on the way. Quite a few people signed up. I'm going to share that with you this morning. Quite a few people signed up for the shots a million vaccination. As a result. Know your rights. We'll bring that back with the People's Lawyer work to give on the 8 o'clock hour. All the news you can use in the national stores we'll share with you. Girls living at an Alabama ranch for abused children that were mourning the loss of 8 sisters killed in a fiery crash. We have that. We did tell you about that yesterday, but I think there's more of a detailed package on it. 2 people are dead this morning and 4 of their co-workers were hospitalized after a COVID-19 outbreak swept through a government building in Manatee County, Florida. There it is. That's that variant. Most of the public rejects Republican efforts to audit state's 2020 election results, saying they believe the reviews are an attempt to undermine valid election outcomes, according to the Monmouth University poll released on Monday. We'll tell you about that. Bitcoin tanked on Monday as China escalated its crackdown on cryptocurrency by further curbing mining activity and telling major payment platforms and lenders that crypto trading won't be tolerated. Oh, I think I died. I got out over the weekend, Q. I got out just in time, but I'm back in this morning. Buy low, sell high. Stray dog is unrecognizable after 6 pounds of hair. Really cute little lots of altitude. You should see him. Looks like a little mummy or something. I don't know how he got that way. He's living on his own, maybe in the woods, but he looks like a little monster. So we're sharing Junior Rose's post for you. George Clooney, Kelly Washington, Don Cheadle, and more back Los Angeles high school aimed at making Hollywood more inclusive. That's some of the national stories. Some of the statewide news you can use, we got it right here for you. After weekend shooting, they killed 2. Injured 4 Baton Rouge bar gets liquor license suspended. Father of LSU pitcher Mikhail Huey dies in a tiki tube accident. We just talked about that a couple weeks ago. They got their first death already, high-profile death. Grand jury declines to bring charges against Tangible Hill deputy and resident in the fatal shooting of a burglary suspect. 9th Judicial District Court Judge Patricia Cook gave the City of Alexandria administration and the City Council 30 more days to work on balancing the 21-22 budget, urging them to work together. Court personalities have got to be set aside. Provo man's Medicaid fraud conviction has been returned, but his wife hasn't. We'll tell you why. More than 160,000 people signed up for the Louisiana vaccine lottery so far. We'll tell you what the drawing schedule is. Dead people receive more than $1 million in Louisiana unemployment benefits. Kindergarten now required in Louisiana after John Bell oversigns bill into law. What does the Supreme Court rule on the NCAA versus Alston mean? More benefits and possibly more lawsuits. Despite controversial approval, arrival of this new Alzheimer's drug is bringing hope to Louisiana. And finally, Catholic High ordered to forfeit 2 state titles, 2 runner-up finishes in football by the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. All that and a whole lot more coming up. It's 32 minutes past the hour. 32 minutes past the hour as of the news time. Good morning.
Eyes Open with Tony Brown on FM 107.5 The Vibe and 1110 AM KGTP Alexandria Pineville. Time for the scripture of the day. And now, the beautiful Bianca Brown.
Hi, it's Bianca Brown with your scripture of the day. Today's scripture comes from the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 19. The sun shall be no more your light by day, nor for brightness shall the moon give you light, but the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your God will be your glory. Today's scripture is being brought to you by the Monroe Street Church of Christ in Alexandria, Louisiana. If you would like to learn more about how the Lord can be your glory, you can do so by contacting the church. Give the Monroe Street Church of Christ a call at 318-448-2494 and ask to speak with Minister Jesse Allen. Or you can write the Monroe Street Church of Christ at 2008 Monroe Street, Alexandria, Louisiana, 71301. As we always say, we will lift you up in prayer and in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
It's time for the Daily Bread with Tony Brown.
Measuring growth. Read Ephesians 4, verses 1 through 16. Ephesians 4, 1 through 16. Till we all come to the unity of the faith and to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, Ephesians 4:13. When a high school student tried using a thermometer to measure a table, his teacher was dumbfounded. In 15 years of teaching, Dave had seen many sad and shocking situations, but even he was amazed that a student could make it to high school without knowing the difference between a ruler and a thermometer. I was just telling somebody a story yesterday when I went to vote at the Register of Voters office, that on several occasions I've gone through a drive-thru and I've asked, can I get some extra napkins or some extra ketchup? And I asked them for a couple. And on at least 3 occasions, the young people did not know what a couple was or how many is in a couple. And I tried to say, well, when you talk about a couple in a relationship, how many people are there? And they look at me with this dumbfounded look. A couple is 2. And it baffles me that people who have graduated from high school working in drive-thrus don't know how many is in a couple. So when a friend told me about this story, about the thermometer and the ruler comparison, my heart broke for the student and others like him who have fallen so far behind in their education. They can't move forward because they haven't yet learned basic lessons of everyday life. But then a sobering thought came to me. Don't we sometimes do the same thing when we use wrong spiritual measuring devices? For example, do we assume that churches with the most resources, the biggest ones, with the big old ivory towers and the windows and the family centers and the family rooms and the workout rooms and the McDonald's in the lobby? I've seen that. Do we assume that those churches with those type of resources are the most blessed by God? And do we ever think that popular preachers are more godly than those with just a few loyal saints? The proper measure of our spiritual condition is the quality of our lives, which is measured by such attributes as lowliness, gentleness, and long-suffering. Ephesians 4:2. Bearing with another in love, verse 2, is a good indication that we are moving toward God's goal for us, the measure of the fullness of Christ, verse 13. Our love for God to be measured by our love for others. I'm Tony Brown And that's today's Daily Bread. Hello everyone, I'm Tony Brown. This is your statewide news, weekend news on this terrific Tuesday. It's the 22nd day of the month of June. News being brought to you by the Alexandria Emergency Room Hospital. While Baton Rouge Police interview witnesses and review surveillance video of a shooting early Saturday near the Capitol Park Bar and Grill on Florida Boulevard, local authorities temporarily suspended the nightclub's liquor license. The shooting left 2 young men dead and another 4 people injured when gunfire broke out during an argument between 2 groups of patrons leaving the bar around closing time, according to police. The victims who died were identified as 25-year-old Kyron Walton and 20-year-old Adelius Alexander. Detectives believe both were involved in an argument before they were gunned down in an overflow parking lot adjacent to the bar. While the bar owners tried to distance their business from the shooting, police were clear in their characterization of events. The business already had a troubled history 2 years ago. While operating as a nightclub under a different name, 7 people were shot during a gunfight that unfolded both inside and outside the building. Parish officials confirmed Monday that the East Baton Rouge Parish Alcoholic Beverage Control Office had temporarily suspended the liquor license pending the investigation that will determine how long the suspension should last. Officials declined to comment further on the decision or the progress moving forward. Citing the pending investigation, they did not respond to additional questions about whether past incidents factored into the decision. The father of an LSU pitcher died in a water accident while tubing on the Amite River over Father's Day weekend, according to the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office announced Monday. 53-year-old Keith Hilliard, whose son is senior LSU pitcher Mikhail Hilliard, disappeared underwater Saturday shortly after entering the Amite from Tiki Tubing's Denham Springs drop-in location, said Sheriff Jason Ard. He had lost an item in the water and left his tube to try to retrieve it. He did not resurface. After he was pulled from the water, all attempts to revive him failed. A spokesman for LSU on Monday confirmed that Mikhail Hilliard's father was the deceased. Mikhail Hilliard became one of LSU's best pitchers this season, as he returned to the weekend rotation for the first time since his freshman year. Hilliard recorded 4 straight quality starts. The final month of the regular season, he finished 6-0 with a 4.31 ERA. A grand jury found no evidence to support bringing criminal charges against a homeowner or Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's deputies involved in a double shooting last November that left a suspected burglar dead and the homeowner injured. Convened Friday in Amite, the grand jury returned a no true bill, a determination that a body of evidence does not form grounds for an indictment. After a review of the November 20, 2020 incident, Louisiana State Police was investigating. District Attorney Scott Pillar, who said Monday, the jury's decision likely means neither the homeowner nor the sheriff deputy will face criminal charges for their roles in the shooting. At the time, police offered few details about the episode that led to 27-year-old Pumpkin Center resident Jordan Patterson being shot dead on Coleman Road near Robert. They only said that the deputy responded to a reported burglary, that Patterson was killed and the homeowner was wounded. On Monday, Perlew said the evidence compiled by state police and presented to the grand jury showed the homeowner, who was carrying a rifle, discovered Patterson in the act of burglarizing his shed. The two got in a hand-to-hand scuffle before the homeowner eventually cleared enough space between the two of them to fire the rifle at Patterson, killing him. The Tangipahoa Parish deputy arrived at the scene while the two were scuffling and saw the homeowner shoot Patterson. Unsure of who the initial burglar was, the deputy fired at the homeowner. The grand jury could have brought charges against either the homeowner or the deputy if they had found the evidence sufficient. Ninth Judicial District Court Judge Patricia Cook gave the City of Alexandria administration and the City Council 30 more days to work on balancing the 2021-22 budget, urging them to work together. Quote, personalities have got to be set aside. On Monday, Mayor Jeff Hall's administration and 4 of the 7 members of the Alexandria City Council returned to court for a hearing for legal guidance on how to end a stalemate that began on April the 20th when the City Council amended and approved the city budget. Earlier that morning, Mayor Hall vetoed once again an ordinance passed late Thursday by the council. This ordinance created new line items in an attempt to balance the budget that moved money from the use of prior year's revenues to lines created to address salaries and benefits for the police department. Mayor Hall vetoed the initial amended budget on April 27, 7 days after it was passed by the council, citing two issues he had with its passage: an amendment that allotted $2 million to the Alexandria Police Department and a move to defund the Public Safety Commissioner position held by Darrell Terry. On May 4th, the council voted to override the mayor's veto in a 5-2 vote. Councilman Grover Porter, Catherine Davidson, Cynthia Perry, Jim Villard, and Reddix Washington voted in favor of the override. The following day, the administration filed a lawsuit in the 9th Judicial District Court for declaratory and injunctive relief. Parties were hoping for a solid decision from Judge Cook on Monday. Instead, she volleyed the ball back to them. Quote, there has been a sincere effort to be very supportive of law enforcement and to get it funded. What has not occurred is to get it balanced. Judge Cook told both the administration and the council that she wanted them to get with Trey Gist, a contract attorney for the city, and David Johnson, the city's finance director. She said it was essential for the budget to comply with the Louisiana Budgetary Act and the city's charter. So we'll see. They continue to point fingers, or they would get it done. 6 years after the Simpson Parish couple was found guilty in a Medicaid fraud scheme involving a personal care company, an appeals court has acquitted the husband while affirming his wife's conviction. The now defunct Millennium Healthcare Service, LLC, had offices in Baton Rouge, Denver Springs, and Lafayette. Personal care attendants helped elderly and disabled Medicaid patients with daily activities such as bathing, grooming, dressing, and eating. Former Millennium owner Dwayne Joseph Woods Sr. of Prairieville and Dinetta Hadrick Woods were found guilty in 2015 of taking part in a plot to forge CPR and first aid training certification documents on 19 Millennium employees to make it appear they were in compliance with the requirements for personal care attendants at the time. Dwayne Woods was initially sentenced to 10 years in prison in order to pay more than $6.9 million in restitution to the State Department of Health. He was later declared indigent in order to pay $10,000 in restitution to the state's Attorney General's office for the cost of prosecution and nothing to the Department of Health. Then in 2019, he was resentenced and given a suspended 10-year prison term and put on probation for 3 years. Dinetta Woods was given a 10-year suspended prison sentence, put on probation for 5 years in order to pay $55,000 in restitution. She too was later deemed indigent in order to pay only $10,000 to the Attorney General's office. Earlier this month, a three-judge panel of the State First Circuit Court of Appeal upheld her conviction and reinstated the $55,000 restitution ordered against her. A total of 160,376 people signed up to participate Monday to win prizes of up to $1 million as part of the Shot a Million campaign that the state launched to reward residents who have been or soon will be vaccinated against COVID-19. Registration for the drawing began at noon, and about 61,580 people had signed up in the first hour for the campaign, totaling $2.3 million in cash and scholarship giveaways designed to reward residents who have taken or who choose to get their COVID-19 vaccination. For a while, the Louisiana Department of Health were receiving about 500 sign-ups per minute, and the department crossed the 100,000 mark by 2 p.m. It's part of the initiative to get more Louisiana residents to voluntarily take the shots that are 86% to 95% effective against the coronavirus variants that killed 601,000 Americans in the past year, including 10,688 people from Louisiana. The state paid out $8.56 billion in unemployment benefits to 721,887 individuals in the year following the height of the pandemic, and $1.08 million were paid to 374 deceased individuals, according to a report by the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office released Monday. Of the $1.08 million in federal and state payments by the Louisiana Workforce Commission between March 2020 and April 2021 to deceased applicants, $629,091 could have been prevented, but $337,007 should have been prevented by LWC's current controls, according to the report.
about 574 payments totaling $123,194 to 116 individuals could have been prevented if the Workforce Commission conducted a weekly match with the Louisiana Department of Health's death data instead of a monthly match. Governor John Bell Edwards on Monday signed a bill that will make kindergarten mandatory in Louisiana. The measure, Senate Bill 10, won Senate approval 38-0. It cleared the House 70-32. Bankers said the new requirement will help improve classroom performance by ensuring all young children are learning at an early age. Under the law, youngsters who turn 5 by September the 30th will be required to attend kindergarten. The parents of children who are 4 on the first day of school can decide to hold their children back a year and enroll them in kindergarten the following school year. There is also an exception for children enrolled in pre-kindergarten programs. Ben Siegel, an attorney involved in one of many of the most pivotal legal battles in sports history, read aloud the final sentence of Supreme Court decision that is expected to change the future of how college athletes are compensated. The NCAA is not above the law, Siegel read. He paused. That, to me, sums up the whole opinion. The final sentence, written by Justice Brett Kavanaugh, concluded a 45-page decision on NCAA versus Alston, in which the Supreme Court unanimously recommended that the NCAA can no longer ban schools from providing college athletes education-related benefits. Restrictions against such benefits, such as offering laptops, educational equipment access, or offering player scholarships, even after their eligibility expires, violated antitrust laws. The court agreed in a 9-0 decision, although the NCAA argued that its rules restricting compensation were necessary because the rules define what college sports are. All parties agreed the NCAA controls a monopoly over student-athlete labor. The NCAA didn't contest this, and upholding a shaky definition of college amateurism was not enough of a reason for the court to allow the NCAA to continue restricting education-related benefits when college athletes have no competitive option to choose from. After the controversial approval earlier this month of Alzheimer's drug aducanumab, interest and hope in the expensive treatment is high in Louisiana, a state with a heavy burden on Alzheimer's disease. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the infusion treatment that targets a protein associated with Alzheimer's on June the 7th, but the approval came despite the decision by an independent committee not to endorse it. After the FDA approval, 3 of the 11 voting committee members on the FDA panel resigned, citing a lack of regard for the committee's recommendation and a concern over how similar drugs in the pipeline will be handled in the future. And finally, Catholic High confirmed it will forfeit 2 state football championships and 2 runner-up finishes as a result of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association sanctions. The Bears were fined in order to forfeit Division I select titles won in 2017 and 2020, as well as runner-up trophies in 2018 and 2019. The school chose not to appeal the sanctions, which followed what was reportedly a months-long investigation that concluded in the spring. Catholic High did not specify the nature of the violations. I'm Tony Brown. That's your statewide news you can use on this terrific Tuesday. Have a safe and a blessed day. Right here in your Premium Morning News Magazine. Tell you what, let's take a look at the forecast, and just as it was mentioned to us on yesterday that we have overcast skies, high percentage of rain in the forecast, probably for the remainder of this week.
Let's go down to Kent Kuiper because this morning is kind of gray. It's a lot cooler than, it's supposed to be this time of the year, but that's because of the rain in the forecast. Hey, Kent, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, Tony. How are you doing this morning?
Well, like I said, we're dodging the rain, very gray, overcast skies. It's a little windy, a lot cooler this morning. So how are you looking today? Is this kind of like yesterday with sporadic thunderstorms?
Actually, for the most part, believe it or not, that cold front actually made it through, Tony.
Oh, wow.
And Amarillo up there is at 63. Fort Worth is at 59.
Oh, wow.
And Alexandria should be go down to about 68 here shortly.
Wow.
For a morning low. But the rains are going to be moving out. There'll be a chance for some rain this afternoon, but for the next couple of days, it's, like 20-30% chance. And it's not until towards late in the week and we actually start seeing pops come up to, some decent rains, like 50-60%.
Okay, so pretty much enjoy the cool weather coming in, about 20% to 30% chance of rain in the forecast later on this afternoon. But we can continue with this kind of overcast pattern for the rest of the week.
Yeah, well, pretty much. What we have this morning is pretty much what you're going to have. Yep.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ken. Try to stay dry throughout the day, okay?
You know me. I'm like a radio.
You take care, of course, Ken Kuiper, meteorologist with the National Weather Service out of Lake Charles with today's forecast. Okay, we're back right here. It's 53 minutes past the hour, 6 o'clock. 53 minutes past the hour, 6 o'clock, or 7 minutes till the hour, 7 o'clock. Let's look at this first piece. Q, go ahead and hit that story when it starts rolling. I will stop talking. We told you about this yesterday. CNN is doing a in-depth story about the 9 children killed in an Alabama crash. Girls living at that Alabama ranch for abused children. A mourning loss of 8 sisters killed in the fire crash.
10 people, including 9 children in Alabama. The accident happening on Interstate Highway I-65 Saturday afternoon.
This is probably the most horrific accident that I've ever seen.
At least 17 vehicles were involved in the collision, the horrifying images showing some cars ignited into flames. According to the coroner, severe storms that hit the region Saturday could have played a role in the fatal crash. Among the victims, 29-year-old Cody Fox and his 9-month-old daughter. Fox, who worked for the Marion in Tennessee, remembered by his inner co-workers on Facebook for his upbeat attitude, his willingness to learn, and for being a dedicated responder, a good son, a good brother, a good father, and a good friend. 8 children between the ages of 4 and 18 were also killed while riding together in a van from a girls' ranch for neglected or abused youth from a
We actually ran that piece on yesterday. I'm going to move to the next story. 2 people are dead and 4 of their co-workers were hospitalized after a COVID-19 outbreak swept through a government building in Manatee County, Florida. The outbreak began in the IT department, according to the Manatee County Administrator Scott Hopes, who is also an epidemiologist. Another person who worked on the same floor but in a different department also tested positive for the coronavirus last week. Of the 6 people infected, 5 were hospitalized. 1 employee who was in the hospital died, and another employee who was not hospitalized also died. Hope told CNN's Aaron Burnett. The only exposed employee in the IT office who was vaccinated did not get infected. You heard that? Did y'all hear that? The only exposed employee in the IT office who was vaccinated did not get infected. 6 other people did. 1 of them is dead. Well, 2 of them died. 1 was in the hospital, and 1 wasn't in the hospital. So, what's the moral of that story? Get the shot and live. Have maybe some symptoms. Heck, you may not even have any symptoms, but and if you're an older person, if you're older, over 50, over 60, certainly, don't hesitate to try to enjoy the rest of your life. Yeah, how about that? Q, let me go to the dog piece. I'm gonna get that one. I'm gonna do that one real quick. Can I do that one? The little dog piece about the dog that got shaved. Yeah, go to that one. Stray dog is unrecognizable. It's a Geninos piece. Go ahead and go to that one. Stray dog is unrecognizable after 6 pounds of hair removed. Stray dog is unrecognizable after 6 pounds of hair removed. It's on CNN's Geninos has a report on that. Let me see if we can get that up for you. Yeah, that looks like that's it, Q. I think. Yeah, that's it. Play that piece. Wow. I don't know how the dog got away from its owner, where it was. They found it near the woods, so the dog had been on its own for I don't know if the hair would be matted that much.
Morning, walks out to his driveway and sees this.
And stopped to first of all try and figure out what kind of animal it was. They couldn't really tell.
They contacted the KC Pet Project in Kansas City, Missouri, which determined there was an 11-year-old Shih Tzu underneath that mess of hair.
So he was 20 pounds and could barely walk.
For the next 2 hours, while he was sedated, 2 veterinary staffers gave him the mother of all shaves.
It was about 6.5 pounds of hair. I mean, just instant relief that he felt to be able to get all of that hair off.
They named the hairless wonder Simon and posted before and after photos and videos. Despite the yuck factor,
Not going to lie, all of those mats were quite stinky.
Simon became an internet star. Now that's one of the best good boys I ever did see. Simon was found near a wooded area. The shelter folks don't know if he got away from his owner or was abandoned and was living on his own for the months it took to grow all that hair. They say his skin is in decent shape, but he needs dental surgery.
He's actually almost learning how to walk again, too, because you can tell that he's just been so weighed down for so long.
The shelter is getting plenty of offers to adopt Simon. People seem especially smitten with his tongue, even when he was a barely identifiable mess.
The finder said when he stuck his tongue out, that's when they could tell that it was a dog.
Did he just stick out his tongue on cue? No wonder folks are panting to adopt him. Geninos, CNN, New York.
Hello, Sinlaw. I'm Dr. Kelvin Spears, Chief Medical Officer of Alexandria Emergency Hospital, located at 5900 Coliseum Boulevard, next to Wendy's. Our mission at Alexandria Emergency Hospital is to provide our patients, both adults and children, with the best possible healthcare experience, with short wait times and a relaxing environment. Alexandria Emergency Hospital is open 24/7, 365. We have board-certified doctors available for expert pediatric and adult care for both inpatient and ER services. We can provide outpatient services like MRI, X-ray, ultrasound, and CT scans. We have a clinical lab and on-site pharmacy that can facilitate inpatient stays through our state-of-the-art hospital rooms. For more information about our services, you can give us a call at 318-386-8110. That's 318-386-8110. Or visit us online at www.alexandriaer.com. Again, I'm Dr. Kelvin Spears, and remember, for all your emergency needs, come see us at Alexandria Emergency Hospital, your hometown ER and hospital.
Rapides Primary Healthcare Center is your federally qualified community healthcare center and is located at 1217 Willow Glen River Road in Alexandria. They are now accepting new patients. Are you tired of spending long hours in hospital emergency rooms waiting to receive non-critical healthcare services? Do you need affordable medical, dental, and mental health care? Do you need quality health care for you and your baby for prenatal, during pregnancy, and up until adulthood? Do you need to sign your family up for the Affordable Care Act or Medicaid? Then look no further than Rapides Primary Health Care Center. It is the affordable, timely answer to all your family's health care needs. All services are available to anyone regardless of their ability to pay. You or your family will never be turned away. Rapides Primary is certified kid med site with a sliding fee scale. Payment is based on income and size of family. Medicaid, Medicare, and most commercial insurance are accepted for medical services. For appointments and information on all medical services, including Obamacare and Medicaid, call 318-487-4400. That's 318-487-4400. Rapides Primary Health Care Center, a new beginning in quality health care and a proud impact partner of the Eyes Open Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Alicia Edwards, City News Manager for the Drum newspaper in Ponchatoula and Baton Rouge. My job is to make sure your stories get told. I make sure you know what's happening in your community. Whether that's exciting, informative, or just entertainment, your news matters at the Drum. But we can't do it all alone, and no one knows the community better than you. That's why I'm asking you to share your stories with me. At the Drum, we believe a community that is informed is a strong one. So if you've got important news, witty insight, upcoming events, or even a wedding announcement, call me at 225-927-3717 or email me news to news@thedrumnewspaper.info. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter today as we report your news.
Hi, this is Dolores with Robinson Family Mortuary. The COVID-19 pandemic has been devastating to our community, and we have served numerous families affected by it. Planning a funeral is difficult, but a sudden loss during this pandemic can be even more stressful. Robinson Family Mortuary can help ease your stress and serves all of Central Louisiana, including Natchitoches, Oakdale, Marksville, Leesville, Fort Polk, and most every parish in the entire state. The newly renovated Robinson Family Mortuary is located at 1815 Military Highway in Pineville, and we can be reached anytime by calling 318-442-7300. That's 318-442-7300, or visit us online at robinsonfm.com. Robinson Family Mortuary, without delay, can arrange for a traditional funeral service, cremation, ship in or ship out, including military. We accept all assignable and verifiable life insurance policies. With just one call to 318-442-7300, all of your homegoing needs can be taken care of at our newly remodeled Robinson Family Mortuary. Robinson Family Mortuary, a family serving families.
This is Eyes Open with Tony Brown on FM 107.5, The Vibe, and 1110 AM, KGTP, Alexandria, Pineville.
Eyes Open News Time, 4 minutes past the hour, 7 o'clock time for the morning show, right here in your premier morning news magazine. Got all the news you can use coming up. Some of the stories we want to share with you in just a few ticks of the clock. Let's see here. Here we go. Poll shows most Americans reject validity of 2020 election audits. Bitcoin slumped again as China ramps up pressure on crypto. And George Clooney, Kerry Washington, Don Cheadle, and more back Los Angeles High School aimed at making Hollywood more inclusive. All the news you can use, we got it right here for you. Your statewide news you can use. You can find a song and hit it on my final one. After weekend shooting that killed 2, injured 4, Baton Rouge bar gets liquor license suspended. Father of LSU pitcher Markeo Hilliard dies in a tiki tubing accident on the Amite River, according to the sheriff's office. Grand jury declines to bring charges against Tangible Hill Parish deputy resident in a fatal shooting.
In Alexandria, 9th Judicial District Court Judge Patricia Cook gave the City of Alexandria administration and the City Council 30 more days to work out balancing a 21-22 budget, to which they're at a stalemate. A Proveville man's Medicaid fraud conviction has been overturned, but his wife's hasn't. We'll tell you why. More than 160,000 people signed up for Louisiana vaccine lottery so far. We'll tell you what the drawing schedule is. There are people who received more than $1 million in Louisiana unemployment benefits. That, according to the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office, announced on Monday. We'll let you know what they're trying to do to mitigate the fraud. Governor John Bel Edwards on Monday signed a bill that will make kindergarten mandatory in Louisiana. What does the Supreme Court ruling on NCAA versus Alston mean? More benefits and possibly more lawsuits. Despite controversial approval, arrival of this new Alzheimer's drug is bringing hope to Louisiana. And finally, Catholic High confirmed it will forfeit 2 state football championships and 2 runner-up finishes as a result of Louisiana High School Athletic Association sanctions. All that and a whole lot more coming up 7 minutes past the hour as of the news time. Good morning.
I know that you could, let's get on.
Rapides Primary Healthcare Center is your federally qualified community health care center and is located at 1217 Willow Glen River Road in Alexandria. They are now accepting new patients. Are you tired of spending long hours in hospital emergency rooms waiting to receive non-critical health care services? Do you need affordable medical, dental, and mental health care? Do you need quality health care for you and your baby for prenatal, during pregnancy, and up until adulthood? Do you need to sign your family up for the Affordable Care Act or Medicaid? Then look no further than Rapides Primary Healthcare Center. It is the affordable, timely answer to all your family's health care needs. All services are available to anyone regardless of their ability to pay. You or your family will never be turned away. Rapides Primary is certified kid med site with a sliding fee scale. Payment is based on income and size of family. Medicaid, Medicare, and most commercial insurance are accepted for medical services. For appointments and information on all medical services, including Obamacare and Medicaid, call 318-487-4400. That's 318-487-4400. Rapides Primary Healthcare Center, a new beginning in quality health care and a proud impact partner of the Eyes Open Radio Network.
Hello, Sinlaw. I'm Dr. Kelvin Spears, Chief Medical Officer of Alexandria Emergency Hospital, located at 5900 Coliseum Boulevard, next to Wendy's. Our mission at Alexandria Emergency Hospital is to provide our patients, both adults and children, with the best possible healthcare experience, with short wait times and a relaxing environment. Alexandria Emergency Hospital is open 24/7, 365. We have board-certified doctors available for expert pediatric and adult care for both inpatient and ER services. We can provide outpatient services like MRI, X-ray, ultrasound, and CT scans. We have a clinical lab and on-site pharmacy and can facilitate inpatient stays through our state-of-the-art hospital rooms. For more information about our services, you can give us a call at 318-386-8110. That's 318-386-8110. Or visit us online at www.alexandriaer.com. Again, I'm Dr. Kelvin Spears, and remember, for all your emergency needs, come see us at Alexandria Emergency Hospital, your hometown ER and hospital.
Hi, this is Bianca Brown, the Mobile Cincy Lady. Are you looking for a dream job? Well, you need to give me a call today. I'm looking for new recruits to join my team of Cincy consultants. Join Cincy today and get your starter kit for only $99 plus shipping and tax. Benefits include additional income, flexibility, incredible friendships, world-class training, recognition, personal growth, discounts on amazing Cincy products, and the opportunity to earn fabulous incentive trips around the world like the all-expense-paid trip I earned to Cancun, Mexico. Interested in joining Cincy? Give me a call today at 318-618-1832. That's 318-618-1832. Please refer to my website, lapeacefulsense.cincy.us, for our income disclosure statement.
magazine. Let me go to my copy. Here we go. Yeah. Now, the news article says the 9th Judicial District Court Judge Patricia Cook gave the City of Alexandria administration and the City Council 30 more days to work on balancing the 21-22 budget, urging them to work together. Quote, personalities have to be set aside, close quote. On Monday, Mayor Joyce Hall administration and 4 of the Southern Council members of the Alexandria City Council returned to court for a hearing for legal guidance on how to end a stalemate that began on April the 20th when the City Council amended and approved the city budget. Early this morning, Mayor Hall vetoed once again an ordinance passed last Thursday by the council. This ordinance created new line items in an attempt to balance the budget that moved money from the use of prior year service to lines created to address salaries and benefits for the police department. Mayor Hall vetoed the initial amendment budget on April 27, 7 days after it was passed by the council, citing 2 issues he had with its passage. An amendment that allotted $2 million to Alexandria Police Department, and he moved to defund the Public Safety Commissioner position held by Darrell Terry, which I think is upwards of about $120,000 there or around per year. On May 4th, the council voted to override the mayor's veto 5-2. Council members Gregory Porter, Catherine Davidson, Cynthia Perry, Jim Ballard, and Rex Washington voted in favor of the override. The following day, the administration filed a lawsuit in the 9th Judicial District Court for declaratory and injunctive relief. Parties were hoping for a solid decision from Judge Cook on Monday. Instead, she volleyed the ball back to them. Quote, there has been a sincere effort to be very supportive of law enforcement and to get it funded. What has not occurred is to get it balanced. Now, Judge Cook told both the administration and the council that she wanted them to get with Trey Gist, a contract attorney for the city, and David Johnson, the city's finance director. She said it was essential for the budget to comply with the Louisiana Budgetary Act and the city's charter. When I get the press release from the mayor's office, their narrative states here, based upon the subjective writing that I think the reporter did a pretty decent job in covering the story for KLB and wrote it out just as I would have written it out. But when you get the press release from the City of Alexandria, the administration at least, it says, we are pleased the judge agrees with our position. That the budget adopted by the City Council is improper and in violation of the terms of our city's home rule charter. It is unfortunate we had to take this matter to court. Citizens expect their leaders to work together peacefully to resolve differences, and that is what the judge said she expects. Ultimately, the City Council and the administration have to, as the judge said, set aside the personalities and work together. The same goal of doing what is best for the residents of Alexandria and its employees. Says the city will continue to operate at its has-been on a budget based on 50% of the 2021 budget. Let me go to Gilbert Porter, of course, one of the city council members who was sued by the administration. Let's bring him up. Councilman Gilbert, you heard what was reported about KLB. You heard the narrative that was put out immediately after the judge said what she said. It seems to be a difference of opinion on exactly what she said. What I heard was the same thing the KLB reporter heard. I heard a judge who said, look, y'all need to put y'all differences aside. Y'all need to come together and balance this budget within the next 30 days so you guys can be in here with state laws and, of course, the city charter. I didn't see her specifically say the city administration is right. I want y'all to do everything that they say, that the city council was wrong in doing this, that, and that. I didn't hear that, but apparently somebody who wrote this press release for Jeff Hall's administration apparently heard something that I didn't hear, and neither did the journalists at KLB heard. I didn't hear him saying that, we were right, they were wrong, but we got to get this thing worked out. Your comment as to what was said and actually what was put out by the Jeff Hall administration, that they won and that the judge took their position that you guys were wrong and did an illegal act when you tried to modify his budget. Good morning.
Good morning. And I do find that different interpretation from what I I heard. Of course, I was there, being one of the persons involved in the suit, and it's just as reported. The judge gave a continuance of 30 days. Wanted to see if both sides can work things out. The position that the administration was taking was that the city council had violated the city charter. That essentially had been proven that the city council does have the right to amend a proposed budget. So that part of the suit was pretty much resolved. And what was left from the administration's position in the lawsuit is that, well, the budget as it was adopted is unbalanced. And by virtue of a municipality having an unbalanced budget, that violates the Louisiana Budgetary Act. So now what everything has boiled down to is a state statute that states what the state statute in the Budgetary Act requires is that a municipality must be able to identify where the source of the funds come from, and the funds cannot exceed, your budget cannot exceed how much money you project that you're taking in. So that's what it comes down to. The money that was used for fire and police in the budget, what's commonly referred to the $2 million, that money, the city council got together and said, okay, to comply with the Louisiana Budgetary Act, we will specifically identify what source of income is going to make up that $2 million that was put in the adopted budget. And the source of income is the unused funds from the prior year's budget.
Okay.
So this is what happens. When money is appropriated in a budget, any budget year, if you don't use all of the money in that budget, then what's left over, the surplus, reverts back into a line item that's called prior use funds. Okay, well, last year, that amounted to about $1.7 million. So that was $1.7 million that was not spent. So what the city council did, to comply with the Louisiana Budgetary Act, we went back and said, okay, this money that we're putting in for fire and police, we want to identify, according to the state statute, where this money's coming from, and where it's coming from will be the use of prior year funds from the budget, from the previous budget. Okay, so matter resolved. Well, as you read in your opening, the mayor vetoed that. He vetoed it. So we made an attempt to tie up the last loose ends, the last part of his, of the administration's opposition to the adopted budget by identifying, well, where is the money coming from? Okay, so we did that, and we vetoed it. So Councilman, I don't know where the interpretation of that comes out, but the judge said, well, looks like they're trying to meet all the requirements, that you are opposed to. So I'll give you guys 30 days to see if you can work out the final details.
Okay, so
that's it. Now, if we cannot come together and work out the final details, the judge probably will hand down the ruling. But they haven't so far. Now, what it's coming down to is a matter of terminology. You know, so there's a contract lawyer that been on the city payroll for, oh my goodness, maybe 20 plus years. And that is the person that the city attorney assigned to the city council. And so what the judge said, well, who is your most knowledgeable person on getting the words right? Because if we're talking about some minor things such as terminology, you didn't use the right words. That's, this isn't correct. This isn't correct.
Gotcha.
Okay, so what are the right words? All right, well, whatever the right words are, get that to the city council, put that in your ordinance, and you do it, right?
Right.
So, I guess there's some, I don't know how to put it, but what the judge said, if the administration, who is the person most knowledgeable to get all this right, okay, so some kind of way to judge settled on trade gift or legal contractor who's been there for 20 years, and the finance director who's been there 20 plus years, get together, get this right, get the words right, so that you don't have any more opposition to that. And now let's see if you guys can come together and work this out. So, that was I was sitting there, that was my interpretation.
Okay, what happened?
What the judge said, so we got 30 days to try and do that.
Now, it seems like, aside from police being funded properly, it seems like the big point of contention seems to be the public safety commissioner and his salary that he's making. I know the council, we're getting a lot of complaints, particularly from residents who are concerned about street flooding, drainage, and they see a position which basically is, for the lack of a better word, a mini pit. They see a position that's not necessary, that's not needed, and they're getting reports that the guy isn't doing any work, for that $100,000+ per salary. That seems to be a big point of contention. Residents don't want a commissioner. Council listening to the people who put him in office, but it seems like the administration is hell-bent on keeping that position, even to the detriment of his own political future. I'll say about Jeff Hall, because it's not a popular position. I think it was put into place by the former mayor, who then took it out, and then this new mayor put it back in. So, I don't know why a city, less than 50,000 people with a per capita income of 18,000 have the audacity to try to have a police commissioner like they would have in Los Angeles or in Chicago, Philadelphia, in New York, where they have boroughs and they have precincts, huge precincts, that they have. There's a chain of command. There's a police commissioner, there's a panel of commissioners, in fact, and there's police chiefs over every precinct. But Alexandria doesn't have a demographic structure, nor does it have the resources to pay a guy six figures for what the people in the community say for doing nothing at all. Is that a big point of contention here, or will you see that position being defunded completely as you guys wanted it to?
Well, currently the adopted budget, the same budget that the mayor sought an injunction from going into effect, that budget effectively removed the funds that were dedicated for the Public Safety Commissioner.
Okay.
Now, if we go back about 2 years, a little more than 2 years, when I first came on to the City Council, the mayor had proposed that he reinstitute refill the position of public safety commissioner. And the reason he came to the city council, his justification for refilling that position was that his knowledge, referring to the mayor's knowledge of law enforcement, that's not an area he had expertise in. So he wanted someone who could help him with that, who was really good at that. And so he fell on Darrell Terry, the current person, as that individual who could provide him the necessary experience and background in law enforcement and public safety. So that's how that was brought to the city council. And at that time, as a member of the city council, we voted and we approved it. In the 2.5 years since, we've seen our crime rate just escalate. Murders, burglaries, armed robberies, shootings, you name it. We've seen that just skyrocket. And so now the question has been, we have a public safety commissioner with an administrative person and a secretary, and we're having a problem retaining officers. So would that money be better spent somewhere else? Because that position certainly is ineffective in reducing crime.
Yeah.
And so it was the city council's decision to take that money and move it into recruiting. Since our most pressing need was officers, we need to get more officers in to replace the ones who are retiring, to replace the ones who are just leaving, to replace the ones who are being terminated. We need to recruit.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to do a better job of that, and that means we felt would be more beneficial in recruiting rather than as a public safety commissioner.
I got that. But isn't it problematic, to your point, to try to recruit new people to come to the Alexandria Police Department at the same time your last 3 recruiting classes excluded black men? Isn't that a problem?
So that's another issue. And that's an issue we haven't even delved into yet. And that's the one about diversity.
Yeah.
And then there's another issue. There's the one about residency. 58% of our officers do not live in Alexandria.
Yes.
We got the other issue that we need to address about sensitivity training.
Yes.
The same thing that's going throughout the entire United States. Is law enforcement the proper group to respond to a person having an emotional crisis, a mental health crisis, things like that. So we have a lot of issues that we really need to address within our own police department. And of course, the one that when I say we, the city council is trying to address, is that there are police matrices that lays out the progression of an officer and the salary that goes with that progression and the benefits and things like that. Now, there's different cost of living and there's different salaries across the United States. So you got to look at something within your region. And we do have those matrices. And the problem is our pay scale doesn't quite fall in line with that matrix. Some salaries are within it, some are not. Particularly the salaries for the 10-year and under, they fall outside the matrix. Well, for 10 years and higher, they fall within. And then we got a few positions in our department that actually fall above the matrix, you know?
Absolutely.
So we're trying to address all those issues. And right away, when we do the calculation, we realize, well, if we were going to get a full staff for ATD, and if we were going to try to either come close to the matrix or something like that, we're going to need this amount of money. You know, just a back of the envelope calculation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, A times B equals C. And that's how we arrived at that number.
Gotcha.
And now, if you have that amount in there, now you could go ahead and successfully negotiate with, what they need. And you don't have to give it all or use it all. I mean, but it's there, certainly, if you need it.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you got to come back,
Uh-huh.
and you have to ask for a supplement again.
Yeah.
So we'll just put it there. And if you use it all, fine. If you don't, fine.
Gotcha.
Just like the unused surplus revenue from prior year.
Uh-huh.
They didn't use it all. And that's what we put into the budget for reuse.
Gotcha. Well, Governor, you did a wonderful you've done a wonderful job of explaining where we are, what happened yesterday, and where you are right now. I appreciate you coming clean or staying away nasty, but again, I got to move on to the next interview, and I thank you for the update, my friend, and I hope really that you guys in the administration can sit down and hammer this thing out and come up with this new budget that'll fund police adequately. That'll take out what people don't want, is saying that, and of course, the administration realized that you guys do have the power to change the budget. That's what your job is, Y'all get the budget from them, y'all either approve it or not approve it. Y'all make changes to it, which is what y'all did, and he didn't think that y'all had the right to do so, which I'm sure the judges already looked at it, you guys have already looked at it, your attorneys have already looked at it. Y'all do have the legal right to do so. The question is, can both sides come together and for a minute be on the same team to move this thing forward? So thank you for your time, my friend. Thank you on such short notice, and we appreciate all that you do, okay?
Okay, it was my pleasure.
All right, City Councilman Grover Porter with an update on what's going on with the City of Alexandria, the lawsuit against the City Council members, and, of course, his analogy of what really happened versus the narrative that the administration is painting that they won some sort of victory, which isn't the case. More eyes open when we come back. Don't go away. This is your statewide news, weekend news on this terrific Tuesday. It's the 22nd day of the month of June. News being brought to you by the Alexandria Emergency Room Hospital. While Baton Rouge Police interview witnesses and review surveillance video of a shooting early Saturday near the Capitol Park Bar and Grill on Florida Boulevard, local authorities temporarily suspended the nightclub's liquor license. The shooting left 2 young men dead and another 4 people injured when gunfire broke out during an argument between 2 groups of patrons leaving the bar around closing time, according to police. The victims who died were identified as 25-year-old Kyron Walton and 20-year-old Ladelius Alexander. Detectives believe both were involved in an argument before they were gunned down in an overflow parking lot adjacent to the bar. While the bar owners tried to distance their business from the shooting, police were clear in their characterization of events. The business already had a troubled history 2 years ago. While operating as a nightclub under a different name, 7 people were shot during a gunfight that unfolded both inside and outside the building. Parish officials confirmed Monday that the East Baton Rouge Parish Alcoholic Beverage Control Office had temporarily suspended the liquor license pending the investigation that will determine how long the suspension should last. Officials declined to comment further on the decision or the progress moving forward. Citing the pending investigation, they did not respond to additional questions about whether past incidents factored into the decision. The father of An LSU pitcher died in a water accident while tubing on the Amite River over Father's Day weekend, according to the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office announced Monday. 53-year-old Keith Hilliard, whose son is senior LSU pitcher Mikhail Hilliard, disappeared underwater Saturday shortly after entering the Amite from Tiki Tubing's Denham Springs drop-in location, said Sheriff Jason Ard. He had lost an item in the water and left his tube to try to retrieve it. He did not resurface. After he was pulled from the water, all attempts to revive him failed. A spokesman for LSU on Monday confirmed that Mikhail Hilliard's father was the deceased. Mikhail Hilliard became one of LSU's best pitchers this season, as he returned to the weekend rotation for the first time since his freshman year. Hilliard recorded 4 straight quality starts. The final month of the regular season, he finished 6-0 with a 4.31 ERA. A grand jury found no evidence to support bringing criminal charges against a homeowner or Tangier Bahia Parish Sheriff's deputies involved in a double shooting last November that left a suspected burglar dead and the homeowner injured. Convened Friday in Amite, the grand jury returned a no true bill, a determination that a body of evidence does not form grounds for an indictment. After a review of the November 20, 2020 incident, Louisiana State Police was investigating. District Attorney Scott Pillow said Monday, the jury's decision likely means neither the homeowner nor the sheriff deputy will face criminal charges for their roles in the shooting. At the time, police offered few details about the episode that led to 27-year-old Pumpkin Center resident Jordan Patterson being shot dead on Coleman Road near Robert. They only said that the deputy responded to a reported burglary that Patterson was killed and the homeowner was wounded. On Monday, Pearl said the evidence compiled by state police and presented to the grand jury showed the homeowner, who was carrying a rifle, discovered Patterson in the act of burglarizing his shed. The two got in a hand-to-hand scuffle before the homeowner eventually cleared enough space between the two of them to fire the rifle at Patterson, killing him. The Tangier Bahia Parish deputy arrived at the scene while the two were scuffling and saw the homeowner shoot Patterson. Unsure of who the initial burglar was, the deputy fired at the homeowner. The grand jury could have brought charges against either the homeowner or the deputy if they had found the evidence sufficient. Ninth Judicial District Court Judge Patricia Cook gave the City of Alexandria administration and the City Council 30 more days to work on balancing the 2021-22 budget, urging them to work together. Quote, personalities have got to be set aside. On Monday, Mayor Jeff Hall's administration and 4 of the 7 members of the Alexandria City Council returned to court for a hearing for legal guidance on how to end a stalemate that began on April the 20th when the City Council amended and approved the city budget. Earlier that morning, Mayor Hall vetoed once again an ordinance passed late Thursday by the council. This ordinance created new line items in an attempt to balance the budget that moved money from the use of prior year's revenues to lines created to address salaries and benefits for the police department. Mayor Hall vetoed the initial amended budget on April 27, 7 days after it was passed by the council, citing 2 issues he had with its passage: an amendment that allotted $2 million to the Alexandria Police Department and a move to defund the Public Safety Commissioner position held by Darrell Terry. On May 4th, the council voted to override the mayor's veto in a 5-2 vote. Councilman Gilbert Porter, Catherine Davidson, Cynthia Perry, Jim Villard, and Reddix Washington voted in favor of the override. The following day, the administration filed a lawsuit in the 9th Judicial District Court for declaratory and injunctive relief. Parties were hoping for a solid decision from Judge Cook on Monday. Instead, she volleyed the ball back to them. Quote, there has been a sincere effort to be very supportive of law enforcement and to get it funded. What has not occurred is to get it balanced. Judge Cook told both the administration and the council that she wanted them to get with Trey Gist, a contract attorney for the city, and David Johnson, the city's finance director. She said it was essential for the budget to comply with the Louisiana Budgetary Act and the city's charter. So we'll see if they continue to point fingers or they will get it done. 6 years after the Simpson Parish couple was found guilty in a Medicaid fraud scheme involving a personal care company, an appeals court has acquitted the husband while affirming his wife's conviction. The now defunct Millennium Healthcare Service, LLC, had offices in Baton Rouge, Denver Springs, and Lafayette. Personal care attendants helped elderly and disabled Medicaid patients with daily activities such as bathing, grooming, dressing, and eating. Former Millennium owner Dwayne Joseph Woods Sr. of Prairieville and Dinetta Hadrick Woods were found guilty in 2015 of taking part in a plot to forge CPR and first aid training certification documents on 19 Millennium employees to make it appear they were in compliance with the requirements for personal care attendants at the time. Dwayne Woods was initially sentenced to 10 years in prison in order to pay more than $6.9 million in restitution to the State Department of Health. He was later declared indigent in order to pay $10,000 in restitution to the state's Attorney General's office for the cost of prosecution and nothing to the Department of Health. Then in 2019, he was resentenced and given a suspended 10-year prison term and put on probation for 3 years. Dinetta Woods was given a 10-year suspended prison sentence, put on probation for 5 years in order to pay $55,000 in restitution. She too was later deemed indigent and ordered to pay only $10,000 to the Attorney General's office. Earlier this month, a three-judge panel of the State First Circuit Court of Appeal upheld her conviction and reinstated the $55,000 restitution ordered against her. A total of 160,376 people signed up to participate Monday to win prizes of up to $1 million as part of the Shot a Million campaign that the state launched to reward residents who have been or soon will be vaccinated against COVID-19. Registration for the drawing began at noon, and about 61,580 people had signed up in the first hour for the campaign, totaling $2.3 million in cash and scholarship giveaways designed to reward residents who have taken or who choose to get their COVID-19 vaccination. For a while, the Louisiana Department of Health were receiving about 500 sign-ups per minute, and the department crossed the 100,000 mark by 2 p.m. It's part of the initiative to get more Louisiana residents to voluntarily take the shots that are 86% to 95% effective against the coronavirus variants that killed 601,000 Americans in the past year, including 10,688 people from Louisiana. The state paid out $8.56 billion in unemployment benefits to 721,887 individuals in the year following the height of the pandemic, and $1.08 million were paid to 374 deceased individuals, according to a report by the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office released Monday. Of the $1.08 million in federal and state payments by the Louisiana Workforce Commission between March 2020 and April 2021 to deceased applicants, $629,091 could have been prevented, but $337,007 should have been prevented by LWC's current controls, according to the report. About 574 payments totaling $123,194 to 116 individuals could have been prevented if the Workforce Commission conducted a weekly match with the Louisiana Department of Health's death data instead of a monthly match. Governor John Bell Edwards on Monday signed a bill that will make kindergarten mandatory in Louisiana. The measure, Senate Bill 10, won Senate approval 38-0. It cleared the House 70-32. Banker said the new requirement will help improve classroom performance by ensuring all young children are learning at an early age. Under the law, youngsters who turn 5 by September the 30th will be required to attend kindergarten. The parents of children who are 4 on the first day of school can decide to hold their children back a year and enroll them in kindergarten the following school year. There is also an exception for children enrolled in pre-kindergarten programs. Ben Siegel, an attorney involved in one of many of the most pivotal legal battles in sports history, read aloud the final sentence of Supreme Court decision that is expected to change the future of how college athletes are compensated. The NCAA is not above the law, Siegel read. He paused. That, to me, sums up the whole opinion. The final sentence, written by Justice Brett Kavanaugh, concluded a 45-page decision on NCAA versus Alston, in which the Supreme Court unanimously ruled Monday that the NCAA can no longer ban schools from providing college athletes education-related benefits. Restrictions against such benefits, such as offering laptops, educational equipment access, or offering player scholarships, even after their eligibility expires. violated antitrust laws. The court agreed in a 9-0 decision, although the NCAA argued that its rules restricting compensation were necessary because the rules define what college sports are. All parties agreed the NCAA controls a monopoly over student-athlete labor. The NCAA didn't contest this, and upholding a shaky definition of college amateurism was not enough of a reason for the court to allow the NCAA to continue restricting education-related benefits when college athletes had no competitive option to choose from. After the controversial approval earlier this month of Alzheimer's drug aducanumab, interest and hope in the expensive treatment is high in Louisiana, a state with a heavy burden on Alzheimer's disease. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the infusion treatment that targets a protein associated with Alzheimer's on June the 7th, but the approval came despite the decision by an independent committee not to endorse it. After the FDA approval, 3 of the 11 voting committee members on the FDA panel resigned, citing a lack of regard for the committee's recommendation and a concern over how similar drugs in the pipeline will be handled in the future. And finally, Catholic High confirmed it will forfeit 2 state football championships and 2 runner-up finishes as a result of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association sanctions. The Bears were fined in order to forfeit Division I select titles won in 2017 and 2020, as well as runner-up trophies in 2018 and 2019. The school chose not to appeal the sanctions, which followed what was reportedly a months-long investigation that concluded in the spring. Catholic High did not specify the nature of the violations. I'm Tony Brown. That's your statewide music and news on this terrific Tuesday. Have a safe and blessed day.
Preach, man. Go ahead. God.
To my good friend Arthur Silky Slim Reed, and of course, as I mentioned off air, certainly for the past year or so, more than a year, he's been kind of living out of a suitcase. But Silky always, Baton Rouge is his home, but he's been a lot of times in Houston, certainly in the Houston area, the Crosby area, where certainly being a member of Ben Crump's ground team, he kind of goes wherever Mr. Crump needs him. And lately, that has been like all over the country, whether it's Los Angeles, whether it's Philadelphia, New York, Atlanta, Silky is there. So today is no different. Silky, I tell you what, man, you already know my house. You must got a lot of freaking firing miles on your plan, huh?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things saved up in my memory out there. So it's been a treasure now to serve the people in this capacity. And it's one that some people only dream of, Tony. So God has blessed me to be on this mission. And it's one that I try to take as serious as possible at all times.
Well, you do. You're good at what you do, and he puts you on the team because you have a way with people. Certainly, what I call the African American people, certainly people who are living in some of the most socioeconomically impoverished areas, they relate to you, and he understands that. You know, I bring Silky in there. Silky is one of them. He done been to jail. He done been on drugs. He done been in the gang. He done been all of that. He got cleaned up, and now he's working up for the community. And not only just here in Louisiana, but when I see you stroking your legs and him mentioning you at George Floyd's funeral, your name coming up, or on the microphone level, a lot of people don't see you up front a lot, but we know here in Louisiana you're doing the Lord's work, and that is truly a ministry that have you living out of a suitcase for more than a year now. So we pray that God keeps all of your personal possessions safe, while you're abroad, because you're traveling some dangerous circles. You know some dangerous people. I know your community loves and respects you, but the devil got a way of knocking on the door when you know you ain't home. Amen.
Yeah, man, definitely. I always think about that, but God has been merciful to me, man. So it's been a mission, man, that I could only write about after it's done, So I am just, man, sitting here in awe right now, especially with what's going on, getting ready to travel this afternoon to Minneapolis to see Derek Chauvin get his justice handed down to him, And on yesterday, I was kind of disappointed. I seen a news article from the Daily where Keith Ellison, the prosecutor in the case, was saying that the judge shouldn't be too hard on Derek Chauvin, that this wasn't about revenge, and it's definitely not about revenge, but it is about justice.
That's right.
So we definitely want to see a just sentence handed down to him, the same way that they would hand us down one for a minor fraction, for anything. So we want to see Derek Chauvin definitely receive a sentence that is in accord with what he has done, which is murder. And of course, many of us as African Americans, we get caught up into these situations on the street, and we may end up arguing with someone at a club and killing someone in the heat of a passion, and automatically they're going to pursue us for second-degree murder charges and throw us away for the rest of our lives. So nothing should change in the situation with Derek Chauvin because of how he was before he committed this heinous act. So, those are the things that we have to deal with. And, of course, the family have to tussle with the 2 nights before Derek Chauvin is actually sentenced. The family is tussling with those words that came from the prosecutor. So it's just a crazy situation, Tony, where, this is a day that we have both been waiting for in America, where at least one police officer will be held accountable for his actions. And to see that they come down so close and to have those words in the air right now is just devastating. But we'll be there for whatever sentence the judge hands down to him. And we always still have faith in the federal system because we still have those federal charges to face, man. So I think that's the greatest thing about all of this.
Yeah, well, you know what? For the prosecutor to come out and basically throw olive branch out at Derek Chauvin on the eve of him being sentenced, to me is just systemic racism. It smells of white privilege. It doesn't matter, I'm the guy that's going to, they got the prosecution against you, but still I want the judge to know, when he sentences you, don't sentence you too hard. But in saying that, Silky, when you take a look at the lack of convictions, the lack of indictments, the lack of a grand jury even, indicting a cop under this, this qualified immunity deal, how important would this case be from a sentencing standpoint to let other cops know when you continue to not only disrupt lives but kill people who are unarmed, particularly African American, and your department has a history and a pattern of doing that? Couldn't a just sentence that's equivocal of what he has done, outright murder, putting his, for nearly 9 minutes, choking him out, lynching George Floyd right there in Main Street, broad daylight, wouldn't that be a deterrent if he got the appropriate sentence for second-degree murder, or if he gets 5 years, or, good time he's out in 2.5. I mean, that wouldn't be a deterrent. How important would this sentence be to deter other cops out there from doing what Derek Chauvin has done, and with so many of them even the Louisiana State Police here has done?
I think that is a very important sentence. It's the most important sentence that has happened in America, especially when it comes down to law enforcement being held accountable. You have to send a message to them that this will not be tolerated, and a slap on the wrist has been the norm for them. So for them to see him properly sentenced, a sentence that he will sit back and think about himself, it is super important for those that even have the thought of committing these crimes. I mean, this hasn't stopped. The night that Derek Chauvin was convicted, we still had 6 police killings to take place within a 24-hour period. So a message has to be sent at some point in time. I was just sitting around fixing breakfast, and I was watching Chris Sanford, and Brady Wilson said, in the words of J. Edgar Hoover, violence must be met with violence. And the thought came to my mind, maybe that this is what he was talking about, that violence is met with violence, because when you meet violence with violence, people tend to understand better. But we have not taken that route, and we will not take that route. We still have faith in the so-called justice system to give Derek Chauvin the proper sentence that he deserves for the murder that he committed against George Floyd. And we have to send a message to other officers that this will not be tolerated, and if that line is crossed, that you will be held accountable. And that's one thing that I have always said, Tony, you know it, until police criminality is treated the same as a normal citizen's criminality, we won't see what we want. We won't see what we're searching for, which is justice. So this criminality can't be pushed to the side and dealt with one way and ours another way. They both have to be dealt with the same way. And of course, you know, with what you have going on in Monroe with the state troopers is just a disgrace all the way across the board to have those criminals with badges continue to try to hide the murder and the lynching of Ron Green. Man, is just a sad situation. So we have to keep on this trail that we've been on for so many years, Tony. I don't know anybody with more data when it comes down to police brutality cases than you yourself. So, man, we have to stay on this path and continue to do what God has placed upon us.
Well, absolutely. So, you know, I know the city's on standby. I don't know how alert the police will be. I understand that many people will be converging on Minneapolis as we speak. You're headed there. If the verdict, if the sentencing isn't what the people consider fair, do y'all perceive there's going to be some problems in that city?
We haven't even thought about that, Tony. We're too focused on preparing victim impact statements and trying to make sure that the defense team is pretty swayed when they put it in the hands of the judge. Normally what would happen is that you would put this sentence in the hands of 12 members and let them decide the fate of the individual. However, the defense chose to put it in the hands of the judge, which is kind of strange to us, because you much rather for it to be thought out by 12 people with 12 different minds that no, that's too much and this is not enough. So 12 different people, but to have it in the mind of just one person is kind of having it in the mindset of, what do they know that we don't know? You know what I'm saying? Do they know this judge is going to be lenient? Do they know this? Do they know that? It was just a strange move by the defense. However, it's one that they have taken. So our thing now is to make sure that we have very, very heartfelt impact statements to give to this judge to let him know how George is missed and that George was lost and that George didn't deserve to die the way that he did. And hopefully, I was in court one day and a prosecutor was asking me a series of questions. He was asking me about prayer, and I told him how I prayed, and I asked him, did he pray? And he said, sometimes, and I laughed. And he said, you find that amusing, Mr. Reed? I said, no, it reminds me of something that an old man once told me. He said, son, even the devil prays sometimes. So hopefully that this will have an impact on these individuals' heart who has treated the family harsh during these proceedings, man. So we definitely hope that these impact statements and God will put some kind of sympathy in his heart to sentence this individual the way that he deserves to be sentenced.
Well, before I let you go, I noticed a trend, and I know you've been to many more national marches and protests than I have, but I did notice the last march, or was told to me when we were down at Baton Rouge a couple of days ago for the NAACP, and they had, of course, the Ronald Reagan March from the Capitol to the governor's mansion. It was observed by me and many others that you had a lot of young people who were strapped. They had their permits, but they were strapped. So that old day of, Negroes marching down the street with signs, I think that's out of the window, Silky. So what are you seeing on a national tip? Are we seeing a lot of young black millennials who are going to these protest march? So yeah, we're going to be peaceful, but if it get ugly, I got a right to defend myself. So we're going to these marches now strapped. I haven't seen that before up until this year.
Oh, well, there's a militant move all across the nation when it comes to the killing of Joshua Feast. There were protesters. The killing of Devontae Wright, there were protesters. So we have been seeing that on a major level right now, and we think that it's the rights. We don't go and turn around and get back in the car and say, oh man, them people got guns. And we say, well, we're exercising our rights. And in many cases, we feel safer, Tony, to be on the ground with individuals that are licensed to carry and are carrying. This is a new time in America, and it's a hateful time because so many of these groups have come out, these militant groups have come out, and it only serves us to do the same thing as they're doing in case something does break out. And one of the greatest things that I feel about this sentencing with this judge is that it's going to be an economic sentencing. The judge understands that billions of dollars have already been spent to protect the city of Minneapolis, and he understands that if he doesn't give a just sentence, that Minneapolis could go up in flames again. So I think this is a great time. It's a pivoting time, and it's a time that America is on alert for what could take place, and it's something that we're looking at and we're saying, hey, we're not speaking against it, and we're not speaking for it. We're staying out of it. This is America's problem. Let America deal with it the way that she has to deal with it, and that's justly. So if he gets a just sentence, I'm quite sure that everybody will come back home and we will be happy and we will thank God. But if the sentence is not just, I do think that we could see some repercussions towards that.
Well, look, I want to thank you for your time. We want to wish you, certainly the defense team, Ben Crump, the family, George Floyd family, all of us, all of our love and prayers up here from Louisiana. I know it's going to happen on Friday, so we'll try to look at having you back up for a recap on Monday, the next business day after the sentencing phase. Either way it goes, okay?
Most definitely. Thank you, Tony, so much.
All right, brother. You take care. That's our good friend, author Silky Slim Reed, giving us an update in preparation for victim impact statements and things that are taking place as they're headed to Minneapolis, Minnesota to participate in the hearing as Derek Chauvin will be sentenced on this Friday. Lines open when we come back, folks. Don't go away.
Edwards, City News Manager for the Drum newspaper in Ponchatoula and Baton Rouge. My job is to make sure your stories get told. I make sure you know what's happening in your community. Whether that's exciting, informative, or just entertainment, your news matters at The Drum. But we can't do it all alone, and no one knows the community better than you. That's why I'm asking you to share your stories with me. At The Drum, we believe a community that is informed is a strong one. So if you've got important news, witty insight, upcoming events, or even a wedding announcement, call me at 225-927-3717 or email me news to news@thedrumnewspaper.info. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter today as we report your news.
Hello, Sinlaw. I'm Dr. Kelvin Spears, Chief Medical Officer of Alexandria Emergency Hospital, located at 5900 Coliseum Boulevard, next to Wendy's. Our mission at Alexandria Emergency Hospital is to provide our patients, both adults and children, with the best possible healthcare experience, with short wait times and a relaxing environment. Alexandria Emergency Hospital is open 24/7, 365. We have board-certified doctors available for expert pediatric and adult care for both inpatient and ER services. We can provide outpatient services like MRI, X-ray, ultrasound, and CT scans. We have a clinical lab and on-site pharmacy and can facilitate inpatient stays through our state-of-the-art hospital rooms. For more information about our services, you can give us a call at 318-386-8110. That's 318-386-8110. Or visit us online at www.alexandriaer.com. Again, I'm Dr. Kelvin Spears, and remember, for all your emergency needs, come see us at Alexandria Emergency Hospital, your hometown ER and hospital.
Hey y'all, spring is here and you're ready to get out and celebrate. Here's what's happening around the state. June 3rd through 5th, Bugs and Bands in Kickapoo. June 4th through 6th, Vine Lounge in Gaines. And Sicilian Heritage Festival in Independence. June 5th, the Peach Festival in Ruston and Cajun Country Jam in Gonzales. So make your plans to laissez les bon temps rouler.
This is Lieutenant Governor Billy Lancaster. Plan your road trip at LouisianaIsATrip.com.
Hi, this is Dolores with Robinson Family Mortuary. The COVID-19 pandemic has been devastating to our community, and we have served numerous families affected by it. Planning a funeral is difficult, but a sudden loss during this pandemic can be even more stressful. Robinson Family Mortuary can help ease your stress and serves all of Central Louisiana, including Natchitoches, Oakdale, Marksville, Leesville, Fort Polk, and most every parish in the entire state. The newly renovated Robinson Family Mortuary is located at 1815 Military Highway in Pineville, and we can be reached anytime by calling 318-442-7300. That's 318-442-7300, or visit us online at robinsonfm.com. Robinson Family Mortuary, without delay, can arrange for a traditional funeral service, cremation, ship in or ship out, including military. We accept all assignable and verifiable life insurance policies. With just one call to 318-442-7300, all of your homegoing needs can be taken care of at our newly remodeled Robinson Family Mortuary. Robinson Family Mortuary, a family serving families.
Hello, Sinlaw. I'm Dr. Kelvin Spears, Chief Medical Officer of Alexandria Emergency Hospital, located at 5900 Coliseum Boulevard, next to Wendy's. Our mission at Alexandria Emergency Hospital is to provide our patients, both adults and children, with the best possible healthcare experience, with short wait times and a relaxing environment. Alexandria Emergency Hospital is open 24/7, 365. We have board-certified doctors available for expert pediatric and adult care for both inpatient and ER services. We can provide outpatient services like MRI, X-ray, ultrasound, and CT scans. We have a clinical lab and on-site pharmacy and can facilitate inpatient stays through our state-of-the-art hospital rooms. For more information about our services, you can give us a call at 318-386-8110. That's 318-386-8110. Or visit us online at www.alexandriaer.com. Again, I'm Dr. Kelvin Spears, and remember, for all your emergency needs, come see us at Alexandria Emergency Hospital, your hometown ER and hospital.
Hi, this is Bianca Brown, the Mobile Sensi Lady. Are you looking for a dream job? Well, you need to give me a call today. I'm looking for new recruits to join my team of Sensi consultants. Join Sensi today and get your starter kit for only $99 plus shipping and tax. Benefits include additional income, flexibility, incredible friendships, world-class training, recognition, personal growth, discounts on amazing Sensi products, and the opportunity to earn fabulous incentive trips around the world, like the all-expense-paid trip I earned to Cancun, Mexico. Interested in joining Sensi? Give me a call today at 318-618-1832. That's 318-618-1832. Please refer to my website, lapeacefulsense.sensi.us, for our income disclosure statement.
Hey y'all, spring is here and you're ready to get out and celebrate. Here's what's happening around the state. June 3rd through 5th, Bugs and Bones in Kickapoo. June 4th through 6th, Vine Lounge and Games and Sicilian Heritage Festival in Independence. June 5th, the Peach Festival in Ruston and Cajun Country Jam in Gonzales. So make your plans to Laissez le Bon Temps Rouler. This is Lieutenant Governor Bill Lancaster. Plan your road trip at LouisianaIsATrip.com.
We're back right here on your premier morning news magazine. Some states are making great strides in vaccinating their residents against COVID-19, but the ones that are not may soon be contending with a more transmissible variant, experts say. About 45.1% of the United States population is fully vaccinated as I speak this morning against COVID-19, CDC data showed. And in 16 states and Washington, D.C., that proportion is up to half. But some states like Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, Tennessee, and Wyoming have fully vaccinated less than 35% of residents. More than 500 days and 600,000 deaths since the first person in the United States was reported to have died from COVID-19. Experts have upheld vaccines as the key to reopening the country safely and containing the variants, many of which are more transmissible. Now, the Delta variant, which is believed to be more transmissible and cause more severe disease, could cause an upsurge in infections, but the levels will vary depending on the rates of vaccinations in each area. That, according to the former commissioner of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, Scott Gottlieb, told CBS News' Face the Nation on last night. Let's go to our man on the ground here in Region 6 with the Office of Public Health, Dr. David Holcomb, our medical director for this area.
Doc, with Louisiana still far behind, most other states that have gotten more than 50%, we're still struggling at about 35%. Good morning and welcome back.
Well, good morning and nice to be back. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir. I hope you had a wonderful Father's Day.
It was interesting. My aunt's 100th birthday, and the day before the birthday, she fell and broke her arm. So,
oh, my goodness gracious.
But she still made it to her party.
She still made it to the party and still got the cake and all that.
Yeah, right.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. What you say is all true, and this is a phenomenon that's across the South and then a few, other scattered states. But as you noticed, the governor authorized the lotteries and, various other incentives in a hope to get people more interested in being vaccinated because there's not enough adults vaccinated.
That's right. Now let me ask you this, Doc. Now the people who've gotten both of their doses, they don't qualify for the vaccinations. Only the people who may have gotten one shot and still have another one to go, or the people who have never gotten vaccinated at all qualify starting today to register for that $1 million grand prize, and for adolescents 12 to 17 years old, $100,000 scholarships going out to incentivize them to roll up their sleeves as well.
You have to look up on the site to see what the exact specifications and requirements are, because I saw that they started it, but I'm not exactly certain of who is eligible, so I will not pronounce on that. But these are all efforts to encourage people to get vaccinated who are, either on the fence or a little bit hostile or whatever. I did get a call just before, actually on Saturday, I was in Florida, from a CNN reporter who was trying to find out why some of our parishes in central Louisiana had such low rates, and it was a very fascinating conversation.
So has that piece come out yet, or we're looking to see it this week?
I'm not sure, because she said there were still some pockets of different places, and she had other interviews. But I think there was a kind of a misunderstanding that somehow this was related to an inadequate public health effort. And at one point she said, how would you grade your efforts as a public health official in central Louisiana? And I said, I would give myself an A+.
Absolutely.
Because we have done more, done more media, more outreach, more working with people. It has been, a constant effort. And she said, how would you rate your results? And I said a D+, because we're barely scraping by with 25% vaccination rates, and that is totally inadequate.
Yeah, and I know you told her, for lack of a better word, we talked about leading the horse to water, but we can't make them drink. So they're trying to point their finger at what's to blame here. And the only thing that I can see is misinformation, vaccine hesitancy because of misinformation, and because the vaccine has been politicized. That's the only thing I can see, where mostly white older men and their families are refusing to take the shot because they feel that it infringes upon their civil liberties. Whenever the government is demanding you to do something, it must not be good.
Well, there's a lot of complicated things going on there, but I did try and insist that, if you look at all of those states, if you look at Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, so forth, so they all have one thing in common, is that they have large segments of the population that have poverty and low educational attainment, low social status, and a big chunk of their residents. And I said, that is your underpinning for all of this. And it reflects in all of your health outcomes, whether they're, cancer rates or heart attack rates or smoking rates or obesity rates. You always get back to those underlying elements of money, essentially income, of educational level, and social status. I said that is the backdrop. Now, that is not necessarily the backdrop in Wyoming, where it's a largely political thing. anyway, it was a fascinating conversation, and she concentrated on LaSalle Parish, which is one of our parishes, which actually has a very small minority population.
Yeah,
it has a very small black population. But the whole parish is only 14,000, and it only has 12% African Americans, and it has among our lowest rates. And so she was really trying to figure out why, and it's not always the same everywhere else. But that parish still has a $21,000 per capita income, which is less than half national average.
Yeah.
So a lot of things go into that, but the bottom line is, if we do not vaccinate more people, then you will see a fourth wave of this come crashing in on us, and it'll all be the variant, and it'll all be transmissible, and we'll see a rise in hospitalizations among younger people.
Wow. You sound like the Doctor of Doom.
No, not the Doctor of Doom. Speaking truth to power.
Speak truth to power, brother. That's what we do here. And of course, our motto, come clean or stay away nasty. But, it is almost like a Dooms-like scenario because of the fact that we were down an entire year, because of the fact that there's medicine out there to help prevent you from dying. And when you try to look at the fact that we need to mitigate to try to get these shots and vaccinations in more arms. But when you look at all of those facts and state that we still and it's not overwhelmingly an African American population, because I think from a total standpoint, African Americans are now getting the memo. I don't know if it was because of the work that we've done, but we have a higher percentage of African Americans who are getting the shot than we are, on the other side, Doc. Am I right in saying that, or is that about what and what?
No, I think that's absolutely true. You still have a younger black population that still has some vague concerns about fertility issues and some things that are also directly related to misinformation. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes folks that are just not hooked into effective communication methods because of whatever reason. So they either get misinformation or no information, and that you're working on that. So that's all you can do.
No, that's all we can do. We're trying to work together, and your component, my component, everybody do their part. But still, when we haven't moved the needle in seems like more than 6 months, hopefully this money that's being made available and these scholarships were up to ante, so to speak, Doc.
Well, this reporter also said, what's the problem? And I said, well, the problem actually comes down to the folks who are really opposed to this. There's always some fear factor. It's a fear of something. Sometimes it's a medical issue, sometimes it's a political issue, but it's very difficult to argue rationally against fear. Yeah. Because fear is an emotion, it's not an intellectual attribute. Yeah. And that makes it super difficult.
Yeah, but the sheer fear of 600,000 Americans dying from this, to me, is more problematic than we're not talking about hundreds of thousands or even thousands of people who've gotten the vaccine who died from it. In fact, I don't know if there's maybe a handful of documentations of people who've gotten the vaccine, who got COVID, and who died as a result by comparison to the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's perhaps 1,000 over the whole United States, which is minuscule.
Yeah. So to me, that's a bigger fear, knowing that if I don't take the vaccination, I could end up like these 600,000 people. More people, we've lost more people in World War I, II, and the Korean War, is my understanding. Maybe even Vietnam. That's the last 4 big wars that we've had, not including Iraq or what's going on there with the Iraqi war. But when you tattle up the fatalities and you look at 600,000 people, Americans alone, that should be a fear factor. Should come over people and say, man, I need to get that. And then I talked just a couple of weeks ago about a lady who I worked on her nonprofit losing both her parents up in Natchitoches within a week apart. They buried one on one Sunday, then the other one passed away the day after, and they buried the father right after they buried the mother. So here you have a family that's lost both of the matriarchs and the patriarch of the family, and it's still taking place because they did not want to take the vaccine. They were both over the age of 70. They were reluctant and hesitant, although their children took it. they didn't take it, and there was no way that their children could convince their parents to take it, because I don't know what they had read, I don't know what they had seen, but they were very hesitant all the way to the grave.
Well, 600,000, the problem is that people don't respond well to these big numbers. 600,000 is just an abstraction. If they see a family member, or they see a sibling, or they see someone who actually got sick and died, then they're much more likely to say, this is a real deal, I really need to do something. But then when you get down in those younger age groups, they may not have actually seen anybody. The people have gotten it. They said, oh, well, Fred got it, and they were all good. They were sick for a few days, and then now they're better. And, so it becomes much more abstract. There's a very famous politician who said that one person's death is a tragedy. 600,000 is just statistics.
It is, and as you mentioned, I would have to agree that for a lot of people it's not personal enough. And when I mean personal, I mean they either know someone, knew someone in their family got it, and passed on. I at least 4 people that I knew personally got it and died. So for me it was personal at the very beginning. And it's personal for you, Doc, because you took the Hippocratic Oath, and in fact it's your job. And for many people it's not personable enough because it hasn't hit home yet. But with this other variant out there, Doc, and many Louisianans, almost 3/4 of them not even taking the vaccine, that's problematic for your job.
When school starts, I'm dreading that, because I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of latitude in school districts about masking and social distancing, which puts a whole bunch of unvaccinated people all together who are all susceptible to illness, and there's going to be almost nothing but variant by that point. And that's a bad scenario.
It is a bad scenario. Well, in any event, I know people can go online. It's easy to find, folks, where you can go ahead and sign up, register not only for the vaccine, but also get your name in a hat for this $1 million that they're going to be giving away. Doc, you guys will be out there for limited hours on Wednesday as well?
Yeah, we're still at Wednesday, 9 to 1. And if you go on the covidvaccine.la.gov site, there's a lot of other places. And actually, anyone can go to any health unit and get vaccinated.
Yeah. And no word yet on those who have gotten the vaccine six months ago or more, whether they need to start preparing for that booster shot.
Well, it's not an official deal. There's a lot of talk about it, but it will come out at some point, probably in the late fall, early winter. Yes, you need to get a booster, but that's not official. That's not official yet.
Okay. Doc, always a pleasure. Thanks again for making yourself accessible. And you see, we didn't fool with you when you were off those 3 days last week. See,
I wouldn't have been available anyway. So thank you for giving me a little vacation.
Little grace. God gave you that grace, so we gave it to you as well. You take care, my friend. And hopefully we'll talk to you on Wednesday.
All right, take care.
All right, you too. That's Dr. David Holcomb, the Office of Public Health, our medical director for Region 6. More Eyes Open when we come back, folks. Don't go away.
This is Eyes Open with Tony Brown on FM 107.5, The Vibe, and 1110 AM, KGTP, Alexandria, Pineville.
Hello everyone, I'm Tony Brown. This is your statewide news weekend news on this terrific Tuesday. It's the 22nd day of the month of June. News being brought to you by the Alexandria Emergency Room Hospital. While Baton Rouge Police interview witnesses and review surveillance video of a shooting early Saturday near the Capitol Park Bar and Grill on Florida Boulevard, local authorities temporarily suspended the nightclub's liquor license. The shooting left 2 young men dead and another 4 people injured when gunfire broke out during an argument between 2 groups of patrons, leaving the bar around closing time, according to police. The victims who died were identified as 25-year-old Kyron Walton and 20-year-old Ladarius Alexander. Detectives believe both were involved in an argument before they were gunned down, and overflow parking lot adjacent to the bar. While the bar owners tried to distance their business from the shooting, police were clear in their characterization of events. The business already had a troubled history 2 years ago. While operating as a nightclub under a different name, 7 people were shot during a gunfight that unfolded both inside and outside the building. Parish officials confirmed Monday that the East Baton Rouge Parish Alcoholic Beverage Control Office had temporarily suspended the liquor license pending the investigation that will determine how long the suspension should last. Officials declined to comment further on the decision or the progress moving forward, citing the pending investigation. They did not respond to additional questions about whether past incidents factored into the decision. The father of an LSU pitcher died in a water accident while tubing on the Amite River over Father's Day weekend, according to the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office announced Monday. 53-year-old Keith Hilliard, whose son is senior LSU pitcher Mikhail Hilliard, disappeared underwater Saturday shortly after entering the Amite from Tiki Tubing's Denham Springs drop-in location, said Sheriff Jason Ard. He had lost an item in the water and left his tube to try to retrieve it. He did not resurface. After he was pulled from the water, all attempts to revive him failed. A spokesman for LSU on Monday confirmed that Mikhail Hilliard's father was the deceased. Mikhail Hilliard became one of LSU's best pitchers this season, as he returned to the weekend rotation for the first time since his freshman year. Hilliard recorded 4 straight quality starts. The final month of the regular season, he finished 6-0 with a 4.31 ERA. A grand jury found no evidence to support bringing criminal charges against a homeowner or Tangipahoa Hall Parish Sheriff's deputies involved in a double shooting last November that left a suspected burglar dead and the homeowner injured. Convened Friday in Amite, the grand jury returned a no-true bill, a determination that a body of evidence does not form grounds for an indictment. After a review of the November 20, 2020 incident, Louisiana State Police was investigating. District Attorney Scott Pillow said Monday the jury's decision likely means neither the homeowner nor the sheriff deputy will face criminal charges for their roles in the shooting. At the time, police offered few details about the episode that led to 27-year-old Pumpkin Center resident Jordan Patterson being shot dead on Coleman Road near Robert. They only said that the deputy responded to a reported burglary, that Patterson was killed and the homeowner was wounded. On Monday, Perilou said the evidence compiled by state police and presented to the grand jury showed the homeowner, who was carrying a rifle, discovered Patterson in the act of burglarizing his shed. The two got in a hand-to-hand scuffle before the homeowner eventually cleared enough space between the two of them to fire the rifle at Patterson, killing him. The Tangipahoa Parish deputy arrived at the scene while the two were scuffling and saw the homeowner shoot Patterson. Unsure of who the initial burglar was, the deputy fired at the homeowner. The grand jury could have brought charges against either the homeowner or the deputy if they had found the evidence sufficient. Ninth Judicial District Court Judge Patricia Cook gave the City of Alexandria administration and the City Council 30 more days to work on balancing the 2021-22 budget, urging them to work together. Quote, personalities have got to be set aside. On Monday, Mayor Jeff Hall's administration and 4 of the 7 members of the Alexandria City Council returned to court for a hearing for legal guidance on how to end a stalemate that began on April the 20th when the City Council amended and approved the city budget. Earlier that morning, Mayor Hall vetoed once again an ordinance passed late Thursday by the council. This ordinance created new line items in an attempt to balance the budget, but moved money from the use of prior year's revenues to lines created to address salaries and benefits for the police department. Mayor Hall vetoed the initial amended budget on April 27, 7 days after it was passed by the council, citing 2 issues he had with its passage: an amendment that allotted $2 million to the Alexandria Police Department and a move to defund the Public Safety Commissioner position held by Darrell Terry. On May 4th, the council voted to override the mayor's veto in a 5-2 vote. Councilman Gerber Porter, Catherine Davidson, Cynthia Perry, Jim Villard, and Reddix Washington voted in favor of the override. The following day, the administration filed a lawsuit in the 9th Judicial District Court for declaratory and injunctive relief. Parties were hoping for a solid decision from Judge Cook on Monday. Instead, she volleyed the ball back to them. Quote, there has been a sincere effort to be very supportive of law enforcement and to get it funded. What has not occurred is to get it balanced. Judge Cook told both the administration and the council that she wanted them to get with Trey Gist, a contract attorney for the city, and David Johnson, the city's finance director. She said it was essential for the budget to comply with the Louisiana Budgetary Act and the city's charter. So we'll see if they continue to point fingers or they would get it done. 6 years after the Simpson Parish couple was found guilty in a Medicaid fraud scheme involving their personal care company, an appeals court has acquitted the husband while affirming his wife's conviction. The now-defunct Millennium Healthcare Service, LLC, had offices in Baton Rouge, Denver Springs, and Lafayette. Personal care attendants helped elderly and disabled Medicaid patients with daily activities such as bathing, grooming, dressing, and eating. Former Millennium owner Dwayne Joseph Woods Sr. of Prairieville and Dinetta Hadrick Woods were found guilty in 2015 of taking part in a plot to forge CPR and first aid training certification documents on 19 Millennium employees to make it appear they were in compliance with the requirements for personal care attendants at the time. Dwayne Woods was initially sentenced to 10 years in prison in order to pay more than $6.9 million in restitution to the State Department of Health. He was later declared indigent in order to pay $10,000 in restitution to the state's Attorney General's office for the cost of prosecution and nothing to the Department of Health. Then in 2019, he was resentenced and given a suspended 10-year prison term and put on probation for 3 years. Dinetta Woods was given a 10-year suspended prison sentence, put on probation for 5 years in order to pay $55,000 in restitution. She too was later deemed indigent and ordered to pay only $10,000 to the Attorney General's office. Earlier this month, a three-judge panel of the State First Circuit Court of Appeal upheld her conviction and reinstated the $55,000 restitution ordered against her. A total of 160,376 people signed up to participate Monday to win prizes of up to $1 million as part of the Shot a Million campaign that the state launched to reward residents who have been or soon will be vaccinated against COVID-19. Registration for the drawing began at noon, and about 61,580 people had signed up in the first hour for the campaign, totaling $2.3 million in cash and scholarship giveaways designed to reward residents who have taken or who choose to get their COVID-19 vaccination. For a while, the Louisiana Department of Health were receiving about 500 sign-ups per minute, and the department crossed the 100,000 mark by 2 p.m. It's part of the initiative to get more Louisiana residents to voluntarily take the shots that are 86% to 95% effective against the coronavirus variants that killed 601,000 Americans in the past year, including 10,688 people from Louisiana. The state paid out $8.56 billion in unemployment benefits to 721,887 individuals in the year following the height of the pandemic, and $1.08 million were paid to 374 deceased individuals, according to a report by the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office released Monday. Of the $1.08 million in federal and state payments by the Louisiana Workforce Commission between March 2020 and April 2021 to deceased applicants, $629,091 could have been prevented, but $337,007 should have been prevented by LWC's current controls, according to the report. About 574 payments totaling $123,194 to 116 individuals could have been prevented if the Workforce Commission conducted a weekly match with the Louisiana Department of Health's death data instead of a monthly match. Governor John Bell Edwards on Monday signed a bill that will make kindergarten mandatory in Louisiana. The measure, Senate Bill 10, won Senate approval 38-0 and cleared the House 70-32. Backer said the new requirement will help improve classroom performance by ensuring all young children are learning at an early age. Under the law, youngsters who turn 5 by September the 30th will be required to attend kindergarten. The parents of children who are 4 on the first day of school can decide to hold their children back a year and enroll them in kindergarten the following school year. There is also an exception for children enrolled in pre-kindergarten programs. Ben Siegel, an attorney involved in one of many of the most pivotal legal battles in sports history, read aloud the final sentence of Supreme Court decision that is expected to change the future of how college athletes are compensated. The NCAA is not above the law, Siegel read. He paused. That, to me, sums up the whole opinion. The final sentence, written by Justice Brett Kavanaugh, concluded a 45-page decision on NCAA versus Alston, in which the Supreme Court unanimously ruled Monday that the NCAA can no longer ban schools from providing college athletes education-related benefits. Restrictions against such benefits, such as offering laptops, educational equipment access, or offering player scholarships, even after their eligibility expires, violated antitrust laws. The court agreed in a 9-0 decision, although the NCAA argued that its rules restricting compensation were necessary because the rules define what college sports are. All parties agreed the NCAA controls a monopoly over student-athlete labor. The NCAA didn't contest this, and upholding a shaky definition of college amateurism was not enough of a reason for the court to allow the NCAA to continue restricting education-related benefits when college athletes had no competitive option to choose from. After the controversial approval earlier this month of Alzheimer's drug aducanumab, interest and hope in the expensive treatment is high in Louisiana, a state with a heavy burden on Alzheimer's disease. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the infusion treatment that targets a protein associated with Alzheimer's on June the 7th, but the approval came despite the decision by an independent committee not to endorse it. After the FDA approval, 3 of the 11 voting committee members on the FDA panel resigned, citing a lack of regard for the committee's recommendation and a concern over how similar drugs in the pipeline will be handled in the future. And finally, Catholic High confirmed it will forfeit 2 state football championships and 2 runner-up finishes as a result of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association sanctions. The Bears were fined in order to forfeit Division I select titles won in 2017 and 2020, as well as runner-up trophies in 2018 and 2019. The school chose not to appeal the sanctions, which followed what was reportedly a months-long investigation that concluded in the spring. Catholic High did not specify the nature of the violations. I'm Tony Brown. That's your statewide news you can use on this terrific Tuesday. Have a safe and a blessed day.
It had to go down. I got something else to tell you about the new Motown. What people don't visit, they move out here, and they no telling who you might see up in Lenox Square. I don't know about you, but I miss the Freaknik, cause that's when my city used to be real sick. People from other cities used to drive for miles just to come.
The Freaknik. What's coming up, Andy Q? Yeah, it's going to be at Morris Brown, right? Morris Brown College. Yeah, we're back, and of course, welcome to Atlanta, where the players play. That's what I'm talking about. That was cut back in the day. And of course, speaking of Atlanta, let's go live to Atlanta, GA, or Hotlanta, where we used to call it back in the day, where we have, of course, my good friend and the people's lawyer, Walter Gable, with our segment that is brought to you by the people's lawyer, Attorney Walter Gable, from Court TV, legal analyst, personal injury lawyer, wrongful death, handles these cases as well as civil rights cases as well. And of course, we're glad to have him as a proud underwriting sponsor of Know Your Rights. Fred, always a pleasure. And how's the weather in Atlanta? Is it as hot as they say it is?
It's cool right now. I just had a nice little time outside right before coming on air with you, Fred. Good to be here.
Well, good to have you. And of course, the topic you selected to discuss this morning, certainly a very important one as it pertains to us, certainly those in the African American community. As you and I have seen played out for nearly a decade now, and me, the 20 years I've had this show here, particularly in Louisiana, that being pulled over by police when you're black, when you just being black, when you're young, it's doubly troublesome. Or even if you're a woman, a young person, it's problematic to be pulled over by police, because more often than not, we've seen the stories where people just don't make it home. So we're going to talk about what you need to do
as it pertains when stopped by police, the do's and the don'ts. And most importantly, as Walter and I discussed off air, the key, you would have to admit, Brother Gabriel, is to make it home. Because, you got a lot of young people, they want to smart, and they have a legal right under the First Amendment right of freedom of expression. I just saw in the newspaper today, cussing out a cop is not a crime. It may not be, what they say, prudent, but it is not a crime and it's not supposed to. In fact, there was an attorney who was suing the Baton Rouge Police Department because they came over to do a welfare check on this child who we had for the weekend. The child was 12 years old, so the estranged wife, or the ex-wife, sent the cops over there, and as an attorney, he was, where's your warrant? Why y'all messing up my weekend with my son? I don't have to answer the phone when I have legal custody of him, and we have shared time. So, they were like asking him a whole bunch of questions, and he just, he crossed it, made the sign of the cross, and then after doing that, he went expletive-laden, told them, F you, get out of my house, and this, that, and the other, for which they entered his house illegally and commenced a whipping his behind, breaking his ribs, puncturing his lungs, and yesterday he filed a suit. So let me tell people, it may not be prudent to cuss out the police. Certainly if you're pulled over, don't do it. I recommend you get it home safe. And if you have a problem with how they handle you in any way, you hire an attorney. You call me, and I'll call Walter. You call Walter, and we'll make sure that you get, they get their due in court, and you get the justice that's due to you. Am I right about it, Fred?
Well, in this incident, I'm not going to comment on that incident specifically.
Yeah.
I'll say this, advice that I give to people, it's not just legal advice. It's advice for just being safe.
Yes.
Like you were saying, Tony. You want to challenge police action, you do it through a lawyer after the fact. Wherever I say, you want to be courteous, you want to be respectful, you don't want to be nervous, you don't want to be, you don't want to be on that end either. But you need to be respectful, and you need to assert your rights in a respectful manner. That's how not to be, attacked by the police in a situation by making it more hostile than it needs to be.
Absolutely. I mean, you want to de-escalate because oftentimes they're coming up full throttle escalation. So we know that's going to be some training that police are going to certainly seek, some sensitivity training, and just to learn how to de-escalate a situation instead of escalating, because there's no reason why Sandra Vance should have gotten pulled over and then it escalated to the point where the cop is beating her up on the side of the road, takes her to jail, and 2 days later she's found murdered in a cell. So that's problematic. So let's talk about this phone situation. You and I were down in Buckhead a couple of weeks ago. We had a person that was filming a woman allegedly getting her behind whipped while handcuffed by Buckhead police, but we couldn't see the video because the guy was afraid to approach his neighbor's property. He was afraid of getting any closer for fear that he would get arrested and start getting his behind whipped. I've seen many videos of police saying, put that phone away. And even in some cases where they come and snatch the phone out of the person's hand, because they have body cameras that they like to turn off. But, and because it's problematic for them turning it off, that way you have some sort of record of your stop. So can I have my phone out when I am stopped by the police?
So you're allowed to film police interactions in public. The courts have decided on this. Police interactions are of a public nature to where they're public record, and that's why we can have access to police body cam video if we make an open records request for it. Now, the key is, are you too close to where you're interfering with the police trying to control the situation? As long as you're backed up enough and on a public place like a sidewalk or even a street, you're okay to record. If they say back up, you back up, but you keep recording because you have the right to keep recording. Now, I will say this. I'm not the best with technology, but there are apps to allow you to live stream something on Facebook or Instagram or other social media. So if a phone is taken away, that recording doesn't go away. It stays on. So the police don't have the right to do that, but as we just said, on the street it's not the point to tell the police that they're wrong about something. So, if they take the phone away, at least the recording was there before they took it away. But you're not in a place to wrestle that phone back from the police.
Absolutely.
while you're in the situation.
Absolutely, and nowadays, there's these little dash cameras. They have dashboard cameras. Now they make them for vehicles, not only for accident reasons where you can prove your way in court, but you can actually reverse those and angle it to where, you can see the interaction between you and the police. So I would suggest if you live in a problem area where the police have a reputation of knocking heads and violating people's First Amendment and constitutional rights, get a camera. They're not that expensive. You put it on your dash. They run 24 hours a day. It has a little chip, and that's your property. So they can't snatch that off the deal. And I think it's downloaded. Even you can download it, have it automatically downloaded into a cloud. That way it's automatically streaming. Even if they get the camera, it's still safe, and the content of it is still safe in that same context of what I'm talking to Brother Gabriel about. Now, can I make? Because I saw a situation, and you've seen the videos, Frat, guy getting out doing everything right, little black kid, stepped out of the car, he didn't have his wallet on him. Many of us don't put our wallet in our pocket while we're driving. It's either on the dash, on the little armrest, and some people even go to the extreme of putting it into the glove box. I don't recommend that. I recommend it where you have it accessible. The cop asked him for his license, and he went into his car without saying, "I'm going to reach for my license," and the cop had pulled out his revolver and started shooting at him. Thank God he was Barney Fife and didn't have a good shot, but shot at him 3 times. And, the cop was stunned that he did that, and the man was lucky to be alive. It was a young kid. So can I make small movements in my car when I'm stopped before the officer walks to my vehicle?
And let me say, you're not going to prevent every situation under the sun, but there are some things you can do. To answer your question, Tony, you and I have been stopped by police, and everyone listening basically has been stopped in traffic before. You know what happens, the lights flash, and you pull over to the side of the road, and you're just sitting there. You just sit and it feels like forever. What's going on right then and there is the cop is calling in to dispatch to check the license plate, to see if the car is stolen, see if they can get some background on the car owner, and you're there for a minute. And what I suggest you do at that time, don't make sudden movements, don't do anything too fast that would catch an officer's attention while they're seated behind you in their police car behind your car. But that's a good time to get your license out of your wallet or wherever it is. Get your insurance information out. Get your registration out. I would suggest that you hold those papers for when the officer eventually comes to your window, or at least have them in the cup holder. That way, you're not in this position to where you're making movements that the officer might confuse for you grabbing a weapon or doing something that would risk officer safety, that would lead them to firing at a person. So you have those papers together. It's a smooth interaction when they come to the car.
Absolutely. I got my insurance card, I got my registration, and any additional paperwork that I need in this one little bitty plastic deal that I actually got from State Farm. It shows, through the little class viewing, the little transparent viewing, my card, my registration, and, my insurance, all of that. So that's the best way where you're not having to dig and shuffle, because, we throw everything in a glove box that's not supposed to be there. We have everything in a glove compartment except gloves. So with that said, many people want to call it a glove compartment, because back in the day, that's where they used to put their gloves. They don't do that anymore. I saw a piece, which brings me to my next question. I was looking at something, one of these cop shows yesterday. It's one of these ATF, not ATF, but these wildlife and fishery shows where they go out and check people for their license and this, that, and other. And somebody had done something or was someplace, and the wildlife official went up and asked them for their ID. And it was a white woman that he asked, wasn't anybody black? And she refused, and she wouldn't talk to him. And I said, and he went on to tell her, nope, you have to tell me your name, and if I ask for your ID, you have to give me your ID. She thought she had the right to remain silent. People are getting that confused. After you are arrested for something, you have the right to remain silent. But when you have not been arrested and the police are asking you who you are and asking you for some form of identification, my question is, can I remain silent if I'm pulled over by the cops and they pull me over?
A good question, and I'm glad you brought this up. The two things you have to tell police is your name in what your address is. And it's state law in I think 24 states in America right now. Louisiana, Georgia are two of them. You have to give your name and you have to give your current address. Sometimes the officer will look at your license and go and ask you, is this your address? What's on the license? It's not a crime to have a different address from what's on the license, per se. So, answer the question truthfully. If it's yes, that's fine. If it's no, tell him or her what your current address is. But the last thing you want to do is create some sort of hostility between you and this officer interaction, because you're not understanding this little bit of the law. So in Louisiana, it is the law that you have to give your name and address. That's a traffic stop or on the street. Other than that, though, you do have the right to remain silent on anything that might incriminate you.
Absolutely, that's some good stuff. Do I have to say yes if the officer asks for permission to search my car? They pull people over. He might smell, what he think is alcohol, but you just have a Binaca blast, some little Binaca that you spray or some air freshener or whatever the case, or even air freshener. For many of them will give them probable cause in their mind to search your car. Why is I smelling all this air freshener? What is he trying to cover up? So do I have to say yes when they, I've given them my name, I've given them my address, they have my information, my license, my registration, my insurance is straight. I'm not riding dirty, I'm legal. Do I have to say yes just because I'm a black man, I'm in the car, they heard the booming music? Do I have to say yes if they want to search my car, even if they don't have probable cause?
The answer is no. If they have probable cause or if they don't have probable cause and they ask to search your car, the answer is a polite and courteous no. The key to remember here is, you have to remember to be compliant with requests. If they tell you to do something, just comply with the request. If it's a question, can I search? They're asking because they have to ask. And your answer should be no each time. And just, officer, no, I'm not going to consent to that.
So let me ask you this, because, sometimes they don't follow the rules. You might follow the rules, but sometimes, then they'll call in the K9 unit, and then they'll get on the horn. The next thing you know, the tow truck is pulling up. They got 2 or 3 other squad cars there. What happens in that scenario where you've done everything legally that you can do, but they've already circling the wagons, bringing in the troops in anticipation that you're going to be a problem, that they're going to find something?
Well, if you think an officer is violating your rights, again, that time between, that time where you're in the car is not the time to challenge that. Hopefully you'll have a lawyer appointed to you, or you'll hire a lawyer who will defend your rights in a court. And another thing I'd suggest is that you turn your phone, your phone's recording device on before the police officer comes to your car and starts the conversation with you. That way you have a clear record of your refusal to consent to a search. And if it is determined that the officer did not have the right to search after you refused to give permission, well, any evidence that the officer would find is not admissible in court.
Mm-hmm. So that's good stuff right there. That's good stuff for anybody to learn. So if you riding dirty, you tell them no, and they start searching and they follow stuff, you good. If you call Walter Gable, you're good, because and you got that video rolling that you did not give them consent. And they searched your car anyway, so they found a pound of weed, an ounce of cocaine, a gallon of syrup, any of that stuff, which is illegal to carry, but because the search was illegal, it's not admissible, and that goes away. Is that about it? The sum of it, Fred?
Yeah, Fred. To be clear, I don't encourage illegal activity, but we do have rights.
Absolutely.
And we all have rights by being here in America, and it's important that we know what our rights are.
Always say no.
And if you do consent to a search, and an officer finds something that is believed to be evidence of a crime, well, there's no way to knock it out of court. as evidence because you can send it to the search.
Yeah, I mean, that's good stuff. This is good stuff right here, Frat. This is good stuff. It would seem to be common sense, but a lot of people just simply don't know because they panic, freeze up, and they think that they have to adhere to every request that the officer requests. You know, so if I'm given a ticket, can I refuse to sign a ticket?
You know, this is one of those deals where you think it's a trap, and I did before, too, before I went to law school and kind of, practiced law and understood what was going on. You know, at the end of it, let's say you're given a ticket for speeding or you're running the red light or whatever it might be, your signature on that ticket is not some admission of guilt. It's just an acknowledgement that you've been served the ticket by the officer, and somewhere on there, there's a court date for you to appear in traffic court or whatever the court might be. That's just another situation where you might be creating hostility when there really is no need to. Just sign the ticket. It's okay.
Let me ask you this:
if you refuse to sign a ticket, they'll just put some notation that you received it and refused to sign.
Yeah, so it's just an admission that you got the ticket, and is it also admission because they have a little disclaimer there that you're going to appear in court if need be?
Well, yeah, it's just, again, it's just an acknowledgement that you've received legal service of the ticket in the court action that follows. So, yeah, it is a signature, in lieu of bond. That's the formal language for it. So you don't have to be arrested in process and all that to appear for a traffic court ticket. You just sign it, and that should be toward the end of your interaction with the police officer.
Absolutely, that's good stuff. How many times have I seen this story? You've seen this story. I'm sure you defended clients on this. Okay, you're in there. You're with your brother. Your brother just got out of jail. He's on paper. You got all your paperwork, they pulled you over for some mealy-mouth reason. Then they asked the passenger on the side for his ID. He doesn't have an ID. You give the name, they run a check. They find out that, he's an ex-con, he's on paper. And let's say they find a doobie or something in the car. They arrest your brother. And then they demand that you follow them to your house where your brother is staying, and then without a warrant, they go into your house and they find weapons, like we saw what happened a few weeks back in Baton Rouge. And of course, for the record, that case got completely dismissed and thrown out of the court, and a shellacking by the judge against the officers who did. So
thanks for tuning into Eyes Open with Tony Brown. The show airs daily, Monday through Friday, from 6 a.m. until 9 a.m. right here on the new KTTP 1110 a.m. Alexandria, Pineville. You can also listen live on our website at www.thenewkttp.com. To contact Mr. Brown or to report a concern in your community, or maybe you would like to advertise on the Eyes Open Radio Network, please do so via email at eyesopentbrown@yahoo.com or by mail at Eyes Open Productions LLC, P.O. Box 13667, Alexandria, Louisiana 71315. The views expressed on this program are not those of this station or its affiliates and are the opinions of the people who choose to participate in this forum.
Man, no one does it better. The music is what we need to guide our Friday and lead us right to a fantastic weekend. Good day, Brother Mike. This is Dr. T, the Bible Farmer, and I'm planting seeds of encouragement. It's God's prerogative. Mike, we're limited in what we can say or do in public, and for that matter, in private as well. It's because we must follow certain rules and certain laws. But every now and then we find ourselves exercising our prerogative, that is our right or our privilege. But did you realize that God also has a prerogative? Here's an example found in the book of Psalm 135, 5 and 6. It goes like this: I know that the Lord is great, that our Lord is greater than all gods. The Lord does whatever he please in heaven and on the earth, in the seas and in all their depths. Today, don't forget that with God, there are no limitations. Can I pray with you? Dear Lord, there's none like you, now or ever. We celebrate you for who you are and who you created us to become. Brother Mike, have a great weekend. This is Dr. T, your friend, classmate, and brother beloved. Enjoy. I'm planting seeds of encouragement.